It's right now. Oh, my drink's over there. Drink. I didn't bring my bag up. That's a shame.
What's in your bag?
My pot.
Oh.
It's all good. Hello, guys. This is a podcast.
Hey!
We can smoke pot, I guess, later. Usually we do it during the podcast. And talk about video games.
I could put pot in this bong.
Oh, okay. Well, I had just bought an ounce, so...
Yeah, I literally just bought that last night. Same thing. What flavor did you get? Brand flavor?
It was Black Label. I think it was called, like, Tokyo Snow.
Oh, that's right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you got the cocaine one. I got...
that's Black Label, too.
Also Black Label, yeah. I got the Chili Verde. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was telling you I got it was the Taco Bell menu item on the
cocaine one.
Yeah,
There's
you
not
got the
cocaine in
cocaine.
it. It's just named as if it was cocaine. Yeah, this is a games podcast. We're in a different location. We are at Patrick's apartment, not in my bedroom like we normally record.
Yeah, road trip.
Patrick's car has been having trouble, I guess, so...
It's a little wonky.
Well, not I guess. That is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird, so we decided to mix it up. I mean, it is the 2-year anniversary.
Right. So that happened.
So, new location.
Yeah, it might.
At least for now.
Yeah, at least for maybe this week and the week after. But yeah, the usually when Patrick's like on his way to have a comedy show over near me, it's very convenient for him to come and record. Some days he drives out just to drive out and do the show, but I don't mind driving out here because the dispensary is on the way, or this
Right.
is on the way to the dispensary that I go to. So really, it's on the way for me too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's convenient, I mean, it makes it that much better. Just because we are at a distance now where it is kind of like...
Yeah. The most inconvenient thing
with
is...
gas prices the way they are.
Right. The inconvenient part is dismantling the whole setup, but...
It does get a little wedged. And
Oh, really?
I think it's like slightly too big for the chamber. I don't know. But yeah, so this is a video games podcast.
I don't want to get judged for my bong hits. I have baby lungs.
We're gonna get flagged now for smoking weed on.
I always smoke a bowl
camera.
or something.
Oh, has anything ever happened?
No, we're not monetized, so
Oh, right, that's
they
true.
can't flag us.
That's true. Haha, gotcha.
Our views are pretty averaged out, where we get like 60 to like 100 views a video
Yeah.
right now.
Hell yeah, maybe that's what we need. We need to smoke weed to get all the cool weed gamers in.
Get sponsors. I don't need money if I have free weed.
So true. I will smoke the hell out of your free weed.
I can make money elsewhere.
Yeah, I can use that money for other things if it was just weed was being sent to me to smoke on camera.
Right. I mean, I don't spend a lot of money on weed, but it would take care of some of the money.
Right. Right, I spent all extra money.
That's not the case. I do live pretty luxuriously as a bachelor. I don't have any of my news articles or anything, so because of what we are, I don't come prepared or anything.
Have you played anything recently? We could start with that.
I mean, I just Elden Ring, so I mean, we could start with what you've been playing, and then we can talk more about Elden Ring. Yeah, what are you playing? What are you doing?
I started streaming Tunic.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. So excited for that. Very genuinely excited to play. I mean, I kind of ended on a frustrating note. I only streamed the first, hour and a half. I meant to go back to it today, but I don't think I'll have time today, so I'll probably do it sometime later this week.
Yeah, because the combat's not exactly like Death's Door, right? But it's pretty close.
A lot of nods to Death's Door as far as
it's very Zelda
gameplay and the way everything looks and stuff, and so it's similar, but it's different enough,
right?
Because I think in
Death's Door, you had like a super dash, and you had a couple of
Right.
like
Yeah.
bigger
It's a little more
types of
basic.
moves.
It's a little more Dark Soulsy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but super cool. I like it because you have to kind of figure everything out while you're playing,
Yeah.
much like a Dark Souls, but even more so because the language is all a made up language.
Yeah.
So like,
Are you having trouble with that, or how are you liking that?
I mean, so far it's been pretty. Nothing's been too vague. I feel like they've done a pretty good job at like because you find tutorial pages. There's like a meta
Right.
part of the game where you kind of find tutorial pages that explain things. So like between context clues from previous games you've played and then getting these pages and they have enough arrows and things you can kind of figure out and there's obvious things that they leave a mystery on purpose because they want you to progress. They don't want you to know.
Yeah.
There's things that they're like, all right, we want you to progress before we tell you what this is.
Right, because there's some things pretty early on, if you know, like, you can get through, like, some of those opening areas pretty fast if you just know what the
exactly
puzzle is.
I think that's kind of the point is like you're supposed to there's a lot of like it makes it so you have to go back and forth a lot and as you learn more and more things and stuff but it's super fun. I mean so far so
That's
good.
Hell yeah, dude.
I died like right before I cut the last stream and I like lost a bunch of money and I was like all right, I'm gonna play something.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to go back. That was fun.
Yeah, I heard how is the checkpointing in that game? Because I heard the checkpointing could be a little bit rough, but it's not like the most intense.
Far from what I've explored, it's a little different than I mean, all you can do at the checkpoints that I can see is like you just click it and a day goes by.
Right.
And everything kind of resets or whatever.
But like when you die, like how far does it set you back?
Usually to the last one you touched.
Yeah. I've heard some of that could be intense.
So you do have to kind of keep note of that, like if you don't want to get reset super far back, try to find a closer one or whatever. They don't seem to be some of them are the way that some of them are placed are kind of weird because there were like two that were placed like really close to each other and I'm like, well, what's even the point of this? It was like one every once in a while you get to a border and it like does like a frame cut like and then you're in like a new part of the map or whatever. So like one on either side of that or something. It's like that's kind of weird.
Right.
But maybe that's for speed running or something. I don't know. Because there's like a speed running mode too, like in the options.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like
maybe that makes sense. Yeah.
But I didn't have too big of an issue with that. It does the same Dark Souls thing where your soul's left behind and you have to go back and fetch it. And,
do you have to kill an enemy or are they just on the ground? So that's the difference between Souls and Elden Ring.
What do you mean?
So in old Souls, I mean, I guess it's just all of Souls. When you die, they're not left on the ground. They're left on the nearest enemy.
Oh, okay. No, I think it's just it's like a floating silhouette of you
so you
that you
just
go back,
grab them and run.
Basically,
I mean, Dark Souls, I guess it can. That's not completely true. They can end up on the ground. But it has the chance in Dark Souls to end up on an enemy. Versus Elden Ring, they're always on the ground, and it's usually 10 seconds before you die.
Yeah.
So you have some leeway of, like, getting out of the area.
This one's just, like, directly where you die. Very similar to, like, the Crow game. And or, like Hollow Knight.
Right.
Well, no, not Hollow Knight, because you don't have to fight yourself.
Yeah. You were playing that, right? What happened to that?
Just, another game probably popped up and distracted me. And I have a bad habit of, like, getting really into a game until another game pops up. And then I just completely forget.
Well, you were still doing Like a Dragon at that point. And now that you're done with that.
Yeah, I have... Well, so that's kind of, like, why I want to get back into... Why I'm trying to, like, make streaming more of a habit again. Yeah. So I can, like... Now I have to beat these games, So... I figured I'd start with one that like you kind of have. It's one of those like, well, like you said, like once you learn all the tricks and stuff, you can't really play it with that same fresh mindset.
Right, now you're
again,
playing it with that speedrunner kind
exactly.
of mindset.
You're never going to really play it with those fresh eyes. So I figured that would be something worth recording, like, even just to re-experience again that way.
I mean, that's why that's exactly for Elden Ring, right?
Yeah, exactly. Same thing, You're not going to get that
discovery.
Same... Games like that, you want to kind of capture those moments. So I figured something like that I'd start with, and then... Because I don't think it's, like, super long, either.
I want to say, like, 10 hours, but I think there's, like, some completionist shit where, like, I think it can get up there, but not, like, crazy, and it's not Hollow Knight.
Right,
Hollow Knight's deceivingly big.
Yeah, because Death's Door wasn't terribly long either. I think I beat that in like 2 days, if I remember.
Yeah, maybe Death's Door's like
3 days.
12 hours, I think, is how long to beat said when I was playing that. I think Hollow Knight's somewhere in like the 50-ish.
Yeah, Hollow Knight's...
Plus the DLC. Right. It has the DLC as well.
And that's like after you get good.
Right.
Which it took me a lot longer to get decent at Hollow Knight than it did for me to get good at Death's Door. Yeah. I was like...
You still probably got plenty of time before the sequel, so...
Death's Door.
No,
Hollow Knight too?
Hollow Knight.
Oh, right.
Silksong.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Yeah.
That game is so... The game's been imminent since 2017. Hollow Knight came out, and that was... Silksong was announced as DLC.
Yeah.
Because it was, like, part of the Kickstarter campaign for that game. And then it was like, oh, well, it's too ambitious for it to be a DLC now. We're going to make it its own game.
Wow.
And now it's been...
And now the fucking Elden Ring DLCs come out, and they're, like...
Oh, yeah,
probably so mad at themselves.
Not only has Elden Ring came out since Hollow Knight has came out, and the DLC, but so has Armored Core, so has Sekiro.
Yeah. Oh my god, even Sekiro. You're telling me that it's bigger and greater than that?
It's just been that long,
Yeah. That's too long at this point.
Right.
I think way too many grandiose type games.
I think Team Cherry is like a team of 5 people, and 2 of them are like music.
Oh, wow.
So, it is a big game, and I imagine Silksong will be bigger, but I don't understand either.
At this point, yeah. It's not like they're doing... it is a 2D scroller. You don't have to put quite as much into it.
People mistake that game for a Flash game all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Like...
maybe their lives... Maybe something happened.
Yeah, I don't know. And who knows how, like I said, who knows how big it is. Maybe the animation has gotten better, but what we have seen of Silksong looks almost identical of Hollow Knight, but with a different character.
Right.
Like, she'll have some new moves and stuff, but, like, other than that,
it could have just been a DLC. That's what I feel like is gonna... That's what I feel like is gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so long at this point.
Right.
It's not gonna live up to it, and people are gonna be like, "This could have just been that DLC."
Yeah. It's like on Twitter, Frank Ocean, right? He just announced that he's finally working on his new album. His last album was 2016. It's like, dude, we've moved on from you.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? I mean, like, hey, make the game you want. Like, it's an indie darling. I'm sure it'll do great. It's the same thing with the Stardew dude, where he's like,
yeah,
the Haunted Chocolatier is taking too long and I'm getting burnt out. But also, like, I'm pumping out DLC for Stardew constantly.
Right.
I mean, Team Cherry's not doing anything for Hollow Knight. They went dark for like 5 years.
I think that guy like knew that another game was expected eventually, and he was like, okay, I got this idea, let's do this. But like at the end of the day, Stardew is his like magnum opus, pretty much. Like,
but Stardew is 2011.
He loves it. He loves that game.
The world loves that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as long as the world loves it, he's going to continue to like feed it.
Yeah.
And I mean, more power to him, to be honest, for
Right.
one guy or whatever. But at the same time, maybe you shouldn't have. Maybe you should have made the Chocolatier thing a DLC.
Right.
At
Or
that point,
something like
you know.
yeah, or like at some point it's like you kind of like I get the whole idea of like the indie creator idea like
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to get too lost in the sauce, but at some point like if you need to hire people
Right.
and your games like Stardew and Hollow Knight has sold Hollow Knight's probably sold less than Stardew undoubtedly, but Hollow Knight's
Yeah, just
also
for
on Game Pass and gets a whole just like Stardew. Stardew is like in the 30 million range, I would imagine, of versus Hollow Knight's probably like closer to 10.
Yeah.
Um,
But that's more for like difficulty.
right, but a 10 million unit seller for a team of 5.
Mm-hmm. It's still crazy. Yeah, for sure.
Like
That's still nuts.
and that game is still getting on. It's still both of those games still sell. Both of those games are still getting like put on subscription services all the time. They're constantly going on sale and like a whole bunch of stuff. Like it was like what last year is when or 2 years ago is when they finally put co-op into Stardew, right? And like there was a
pretty
DLC
recently.
like recently, like a big
Yeah.
update for the modern consoles, and it's like I don't know. I get it of like. I mean, Stardew has kind of like that forever game kind of appeal, like an Animal Crossing, where you
Right,
can kind of
yeah.
like cater to your farm forever. But Hollow Knight doesn't.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight has an ending,
Mm-hmm.
like a definitive ending,
Right.
and you can't just. You theoretically could just keep adding to it,
Yeah.
but like I'm sure you had an ending in mind, or was the DLC just like was the plan at the time we just want to put a new character in a Hollow Knight and we have no idea
Right.
and we're starting from scratch.
That's what I think. I feel like they were going for some sort of like maybe even a multiplayer, some sort of like second character, new story, but
Yeah. Yeah, I cuz it's like Shovel Knight, right? Shovel Knight had all of those like character like DLCs.
right.
Where like Plague Knight and King Knight and fuck what I forgot the other ones, but it had multiple DLCs and they seemed pretty planned out. Like
Yeah.
it was like the whole idea was like we made Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight's made a lot of money from Kickstarter and stuff, so we have the idea of making expansions and each one will follow the knights.
Mm-hmm.
And Hollow Knight was like, yeah, we have an idea for DLC. If we make enough money, it'll happen. But I don't know if they really had an idea.
Right, and they could have very well did that same thing and just did another type of night
Yeah,
DLC and kept
Right.
it at that.
yeah. People call it Spoon Heaven. If you hear people say Spoon Heaven in any of the podcasts that I listen to, that's what they're talking about.
Why?
It's Silk because she carries a spoon.
Oh,
It's a little
okay.
beetle that carries a
that's
spoon.
funny.
Spoon Heaven. You have, it's called Silk Song.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight Silk Song. I don't know why Spoon Heaven specifically, but somebody called it that, and then it just stuck. It's like Shadow Drop for like day one releases, where
Yeah.
Easy Allies said that once, and then it just stuck forever.
Right, right.
You know, some gaming journalist said it, and then it stuck forever.
It became a, yeah.
It could very well, a joke like that could have very well been like The Onion or whatever their gaming vertical is.
Very true,
Hard
yeah.
Drive. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about that kind of stuff with those games specifically, of like, why is it taking so long? I mean, it's just like in general, right? Is like a lot of the news that I would have had today is like WoW the WoW developers, all of the WoW developers are unionizing. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
They're all banding together. I think it's like a team of 500
Oh
or
wow.
something like that. It's the biggest game union as we know it. But several days before, Bethesda, one of their studios, had just unionized as well. That was like 245 people. Um, the other big one is that Bungie just laid off 17% of its staff.
Hmm.
Um, so we got
Wow.
a yin and yang
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there. Bungie just delivered. I don't know if it was its biggest selling DLC, but they just had their ending. Their 10-year arc came to an end.
Yeah.
This like 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Oh, what I forgot what the DLC's called, but it's a really big deal and people love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge thing, and then they shortly after they announced what the next roadmap ideas would be, and they're kind of like going to like a more episodic route where it will be like maybe 4-hour campaigns every 3 or 4 or 5 months, and they won't be on like a regular they'll be on a regular cadence, but they won't be on like a timetable kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Versus like an expansion every time something comes out for Destiny that is money is giant expansions. And like I don't know how much like Lightfall and stuff is, but I think they're like $20-$30 a piece. Like
wow.
they're big. It's like a WoW expansion, right?
Right.
And I think even WoW has changed that. Where I don't think maybe if people are listening, comment if I'm wrong. Where like I think WoW got rid of that as well, where you don't have to, because it is also a subscription service for WoW.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's still like $15 a month for WoW is like their bread and butter.
Oh really?
Same thing with like Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
But maybe you do have to buy the expansions, because now that I'm thinking about it, I think all the expansions for 14 you have to buy as well. There's some nuance to that, where like the first few expansions are free now, where like it's like the first 200 levels of FF14 are free that you can just play if you want to get into the game.
Word.
Yeah, like I think the first 3 or 4 expansions are free, because there's 10 years of that game as well, and also just had its big in-game moment, and they're kind of struggling where like their big expansion after their in-game moment is what just came out.
Yeah.
And it's getting kind of like middling reviews, where like I mean basically the end of FF14 is you're fighting God in the middle of like the universe exploding, and like it's the most epic shit ever,
right.
And now you're going on like a beach cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty the opposite, I guess.
Yeah, but like I'm going on a huge rant away from the idea of like Destiny just had its big DLC, and now they just announced this new episodic route, and now with that episodic route they're of course downsizing and stuff like that, because they don't need to make a giant expansion that takes 2 years to make, and it's gonna be the next 300 hours of somebody's life.
Yeah.
Or not even, I mean, Destiny, there's people that are playing Destiny casually that are putting that amount of time, and there's people that play that game as a full-time job every day, and not as a streamer, but just as a hobby.
Yeah.
And that's even more potent than a streamer, and has even more sway than the streamer. I'd imagine that those people would be happy, but the state of Bungie has been so. I mean, we've talked about since like they got bought by Sony, them being meddled in with like The Last of Us and being in charge of their whole like live service initiative kind of being that gatekeeper for them.
Right.
And they were the reason why that got canceled, but at the same time, the expansion that had came out at that point got like super bad reviews. This new expansion got like amazing reviews.
Yeah.
On the other hand, and it wasn't enough to move the needle.
Yeah.
We don't have like financials. Sony probably won't ever release that, but 17% is a huge number, man.
It's a chunk. Yeah, it's such a big chunk.
That's a huge number. I mean, good on everybody unionizing, and that's why the unionizing needs to happen, right? Is because of something like this, where a mass layoff of several hundred people.
Right.
I mean, even it's that always it's going to happen inevitably with some of these things, but yeah, at least protects you from it. So like, you're able to eat next week and stuff like that, and offer you better protection and help you find another job ideally, and like that kind of stuff. We also have on the other side, SAG-AFTRA is going on strike again.
Oh, really?
And all game production is pretty much on hold if you're in the middle of voice acting and recording and mocap and all that stuff.
Right.
Is on hold indefinitely because of the AI stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And the argument of your voice and stuff like that isn't going to be the argument for AI and stuff like that on paper is not in favor of the voice actors right now.
Right.
Where they're worried of that instead of it being a performance and it being a piece of art, because an AI can pick it up and you can put it through a machine, it could be considered data because it's all digital, and that a performance isn't a work of art. That work of art isn't the work of art under SAG-AFTRA is protected under their current contracts, right?
Right.
Like their performative art and stuff like that. But the digital, data, the ones and zeros of the art, your digital movie.
Right.
Technically, it is in like residuals and stuff like that, but the argument is that it's technically not real because it's all ones and zeros.
Right.
And we could just feed it into a machine. At least that's what they're worried about.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was ever like, I don't think anybody said it initially, but now that's what they're fighting for, is that nobody could come to agreements or anything. And we had talked about a while ago when they went on strike last time.
Right.
And it was over the same thing. It was on a whole grander scale of like all of the acting world, but now it's specifically with like voice acting and mocap specifically.
Right. Yeah.
Mocap is a big thing where like
like the behind the scenes type stuff.
Right, where like sure it might not be your likeness that's scanned in, but it's your movements. It's your
right.
Like that is a performance in its own, just like a stunt performer or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All of those require like your physical, your energy,
Right. And the way you move versus the way somebody else's move is completely is completely different. And the way, mocap isn't just the movement quality, it's the facial structures, it's all of that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't always just have to be the likeness. The way your mouth moves and stuff like that.
Yeah, they look for they look for all that when they hire these people.
Right.
Like the specific, things that they want to portray on the game.
Right, and all of that, I mean, with modern mocap, a lot of mocap actors are also, it's the voice actors doing it, like The Last of Us is Troy Baker, and I forgot who, the girl's name who plays Ellie, but they're on a mocap stage, and they're voice acting, and they're doing the whole thing, but that might not always be the case. And the argument for that is that, well, that performance, because it's being processed through a computer and it's not the likeness of that individual, it's considered data and not a performance because it's, you know, you're putting assets against it. And,
right.
And, yeah. I don't have, like, if... Well, once it develops more especially, I'll have, like, a full document of what they're asking for, because I don't think there's even that right now.
Yeah.
I think they're just on strike. I'm sure that within the following weeks that they'll have like another hearing and like have some sort of asking or bargaining document.
Right.
Because, I mean, like, voice acting and stuff like that is the lifeblood of the industry. I mean, of course, not necessarily they are part of the lifeblood. It's everybody, but, you know, you can make a game without a voice actor.
Yeah, but if you have it, you gotta have a good one.
Right.
Or that ruins the whole game.
Right, and if a company uses a scab voice actor, it will be very bad. It'll make the company, and you know, you'll get your reputation is on the line.
Oh yeah, you'll be tainted if you start using AI.
There's definitely a lot of voice actors that aren't part of SAG, and a lot of actors that aren't part of SAG. So a lot of actors will get work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you're working on a project that has SAG actors, and then they're on strike, and then you rehire new actors,
right?
That's where it crosses the line.
Oh yeah, that's just more of like a respect. Yeah, that's like a respect thing.
Right. That's a scab.
Right. No. Yeah. I was thinking more of I forgot, to be honest.
Yeah.
I forgot, but I knew what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah. It just. Yeah, the idea that somebody's, you know, the way you walk can be data.
Right.
To a computer, and then you feed it into a machine. I mean, like, AI is inevitable, and the way we use AI we've talked about is, like, kind of, like, it's so fluid right now, and it kind of just is, like, this buzzword where, like, there's a huge difference between ChatGPT scraping everybody's works of, you know, articles and texts and stuff to create an answer versus, like, AI, like, SpeedTree is, like, the biggest example that developers use, where, like, you take a couple of tree assets and then you've created those tree assets, and then it randomly places it through the game, like through your map.
Right.
And it's all AI generated that way. And there's a huge difference between that, and the term is being used for all of it in between.
Yeah. AI's been around
for a while. I mean,
for a while, yeah.
The way we've said NPCs react to a character is AI.
But there's specific, it's not just, it's more specific than just AI. AI is such a broad umbrella term for so many different types of things. But there is certain types of things under that if you use it, it's just like, it like taints your reputation. You're really just like, you could just pay someone to do that instead of getting this robot to do it.
Right. And
because then it doesn't have the soul anymore.
Right. And then the EA is under fire because of AI that they have used recently for their current uh, college football game, right? Um, Apparently, that the faces of the character models were all AI generated with like the likenesses of the players that they've played and stuff like that, but it auto generates them to the players, right?
Right.
And there's a huge miscommunication of like those assets are already in the game. The AI is just, distributing it.
Right.
It's a totally different thing than,
It's not creating hundreds of new faces
right, and
from a database of
right.
features. It's just taking the things that were already given.
Right.
There's a huge difference because that has a specific direct tunneled like input. It's not
right
out there continuously creating new things and stuff out of like.
And like that game might have like, I think a scraping AI tool might be beneficial to something like that if those stats and stuff are available to the public and like all of that through, through the season and next season. Like, I know these games come out every year, but
yeah,
some people hold on to these games for a couple of years, right?
Right.
And the seasons update.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody right now has to program that and stuff like that.
Right.
And that developer, I'm sure, would rather be working on the next game.
I'm sure that it's so
away.
easy to just take all the stats from the year before and fill it in,
right?
Or even have an updated one. Because I mean,
a lot of it updates real time.
Because even because I was gonna say you can even just go on Google and watch a real time on the Google search page,
right? But back in the day, it used to be somebody had to plug it in. Right?
No, absolutely. But I'm saying now it'd be very easy to
just have
do that.
Yeah, a scraper,
and keep it up to date,
yeah.
Right? And that's just data. I think that data.
And that's the argument.
Scraping is a little different because that's just real time data versus like taking 100 people's faces and making a new face or copying a whole bunch of artwork to make another
which I kind of
artwork.
I mean, that's what AI tech random generators in that case would be that as well, like the likeness in that case is paid for. Like EA's done the work,
right?
They did the job, they signed the deals, there's no foul play, they aren't taking somebody else's art.
That's what I mean. It's all they're all using things that they've already collected,
right? And I think the scary part is that, well, I guess the argument would be, well, are those AI faces and stuff going to carry over to the next game?
That's
well, I think in the contract that that would have been a lot more clear a lot earlier.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like that would be like a contract to contract thing. I mean, you could very well just be like, sure, keep my face forever. Like, I wouldn't care if you just...
They paid these kids like $600 a piece.
Yeah, but what is my face on another football game? As long as you don't go putting it in something crazy.
Back in the day, they didn't even have their... This is the first time they've ever used players' names and stuff. Back in the day, it used to be just the number.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, well, I know number 17 is Steven. You
know? Yeah.
But in NCAA, it was just number 17 for the Chiefs or whatever, whatever football team. I don't know football too well, but it's, it's crazy. And the AI conversation is getting a little out of hand because a lot of the people that are tooting against that horn aren't the right people, and SAG maybe arguing against AI is for the best, but there also needs to be like some proper some proper, like, I don't know, what's the word I'm teaching, like,
Yeah, maybe some
on the
guidelines, some
subject, you know.
specifications of like.
I definitely think there will be laws passed soon against it. Like,
I mean, they're already kind of. It's already kind of being, at least in like more of the art centric communities.
yeah,
It's definitely already being better because you have to label things as AI if
yeah,
you make it. That's like already become a big thing.
right.
So,
I
and
forgot
that
what the
alone prevents a lot of that from
yeah,
happening.
yeah, and I forgot what the company is, but there was just an announcement recently that they're the big company for AI that like Google's using and stuff like that is like in debt by several $billion,
Mm-hmm.
and they have no way to like turn a profit,
Well, that's the
and they're
thing
just asking
too.
for more money.
AI is hella expensive.
Right.
It's like the NFTs.
Yeah, it's just using so much energy
It's
and
not.
stuff.
It's you're not. There's no benefit
Right.
to it.
And then a
It's
lot of the problem is that a lot of the problem now with that stuff is that the AI is feeding the AI now.
yeah, right.
Where like you're having all of these AI spouted articles feeding into the AI algorithm, and
Mm-hmm.
then that.
So it's doubling down and then
Yeah,
and then creating like yeah, like
all of those AI
incest
Reddit questions.
babies.
Yeah, dude, it's
Nuts.
crazy, and so
And
like
yeah,
a lot of that will I think will come to a head within the next year or two.
for sure. I mean, it's going to be a trendy thing once we figure out like specific uses like when
Right.
it's something like the faces, when it's all given a specific controlled command. I think that that's what it needs to be. We can't just have the AIs constantly willy-nilly freely continuously absorbing
Churning, right.
information because that's where it becomes
The
crazy.
second you Google something now, it pops up with this AI blurb.
That's where it becomes
It's
nuts.
like,
It needs to be
why?
like controlled things, like we input everything directly and then it does it or something.
Yeah.
Like an Excel sheet type situation, but
Like,
not like
you Google like how to your local pizza place, and the AI will tell you how to make a pizza, and then your local pizza place will be underneath it.
after the
And
40 sponsored ads.
and this is well, that's what's even crazier is like so like ad revenue has been down for a very long time, but ads now seem more pervasive on the internet, especially in video, more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
The reason, dude, it has to be fucking a lot of this AI shit that is killing ad revenue, because like every time that I Google something now, instead of a fucking ad, it's some AI bullshit.
Right.
And like that company is hemorrhaging money,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that are spending money to be on that service
And that's yeah.
aren't being, to the top. And
It
Google,
sucks. And Google promotes it. They have
right.
they have their own ads for it.
Right, and the big problem earlier, like before this whole thing, this was like coming up recently. It was like as soon as this started bubbling up, like they put the AI thing in and then just made it worse. But Google's been getting worse and worse
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time,
Oh yeah.
and the way that they feed information to you and stuff like that is very fucked up. So a lot of people are going over to other places and everything like that.
Right.
Different browsers and different stuff like that. But Google's so you might not be Googling something. You could Bing something. I mean, I'm sure Bing has their own AI because it's Microsoft. I forgot what theirs is called, Azure or whatever.
Mm.
But the amount of Google stuff that just exists, like, it's just so pervasive.
Mm-hmm.
Like YouTube and like all of that shit, and then of course like Facebook has its own AI as well. The Meta AI shit is just as bad.
Yeah.
That's all getting fed to you. So like, I don't know. It's just It's insane. It's insane. I mean, Facebook's still also spending so much money on like the fucking the what is it called? It's been so long since we've talked about it. Not the multiverse, but the NFT,
The metaverse?
the metaverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it's dead, but like there's still money being pumped into
And
it.
they're still occasionally making those portals that like no one uses except for,
Right.
the 20 Facebook stands.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like Oculus is huge.
Yeah.
Oculus is their big money maker, and of
That's
course
fair.
they're
They came out
selling
at a
like,
good time.
yeah, Oculus, dude. I want to buy an Oculus. It's so worth it at this point. Like the Oculus 3 or the Meta 3 that just came out. I don't even think they call it Oculus anymore. The Quest, that's what it's called now.
Yeah.
The Meta Quest.
Because you're going into the metaverse.
Yeah.
So you're taking a quest.
But you don't need a PC to use it.
Mm-hmm.
You need the space, but not every game you need a lot of space for. Some games you just need to sit in your...
Yeah, we have a
It's like $300 for one, dude.
headset somewhere.
And then you can just use it as a PC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just use it as a movie theater or whatever.
It's super
and that
dope.
sounds
You
great.
can do a lot of. I like the people that are like, they like work on stuff,
Right.
and then they just pull up menus. They're just like
Yeah.
watching a YouTube video while they're working on the car and shit. That's
Right.
funny.
Oh, that's the Apple one. Yeah. Oh, I guess Oculus
You
has
can do
the
it.
pass-through now.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, the new Oculuses have pass-through. That's super sick.
I was gonna say, there's a couple games on the one that I don't know what. I think we have the PlayStation VR. I can't remember what VR we have, but the case was out here.
The cool first thing that I saw with that pass through was, it seemed almost immediately, was that it was for music. When you look at like your fretboard or your keyboard or whatever, it would play the note. Yeah, that's not a 3 though. That's the old one.
That's the Oculus.
Yeah, I think that's the 2.
Yeah.
It's
not the most up to date, but still works.
The 3 has like several more cameras through on it. But that pass through tech is so insane now.
Yeah, but even that one has passed through. As old as that one is. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's a couple games where I'll sit here and play.
Is it just black and white pass through, or is it completely like colored?
It's
and
colored.
Stuff? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sick. That's sick.
Yeah, I can't remember what games exactly, but there's a couple where I can just sit on the couch.
Yeah. I mean, the coolest thing with the pass through is that I saw like somebody playing piano and learning, and then it would play the notes
wow.
at the keys like it was Guitar Hero, and you're just
wow.
a rocksmith, but it's like actually there in front of you.
That's sick. I should look into that because I still
Yeah.
have my keyboard.
Yeah, that for like that or bass or drums or whatever. Like there was a
Holy
whole bunch
fudge.
of that.
That sounds super dupe.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Man.
speaking of VR, PlayStation VR 2, extremely dead. It's so dead that they announced the little box. You remember that they were like, we're just gonna make it. You're gonna be able to use it on PC, and we're not gonna support it anymore. But people are supporting PC VR games.
Right.
So like, yeah.
Huh. I wonder why.
Well, so the PlayStation 5 as of right now is $499. A PSVR 2 is $559.
Oh, that's why. Okay. So you need like $1,000 just down the whole shebang.
Right.
Before games.
Right. The headset is more expensive than the console itself on top.
But you need the console.
But you need the console.
Yeah, right. So I get it. Okay.
So now they are going to sell a breakout box, is what they had announced like a few months ago, to connect it to PC. Or I think they have finally announced the box. It was kind of rumored that it was coming to PC, like they were going to attach it somehow. Now we've finally seen the little breakout box. It has like, it needs its own power supply, which kind of sucks. Like you're adding more wires to it.
Right.
But it's gonna cost like $70 on top of that. I think it's Bluetooth, so it doesn't connect directly to the computer, from my understanding. It Bluetooths to the computer. All of the breakout box and stuff is so you can power it without it being connected to the PlayStation.
I feel like I prefer it to be connected to the computer, though. Like, a direct connect is just so much more stable.
Right. Yeah, and the big problem is not every computer comes with Bluetooth.
Yeah, also true, yeah.
So, on top of that, you need another
Bluetooth isn't
accessory.
it's not necessarily universal. Because it's kind of like a niche, its own little thing.
There's a big problem with with what we had with Kyle's computer, where it didn't have Bluetooth in it for a little bit.
Right.
I think he had to like buy a piece to like get Bluetooth.
Oh, it's Alien? Yeah.
Yeah. So like the PC that I'm looking at, I was like, it has to have Bluetooth, because if headphones, let alone, any
Very
other
true, yeah.
small ancillary device, but yeah,
I guess for something like that, for headphones, I wouldn't mind, if like even maybe a microphone, but for something like a whole game thing, I feel like that needs like consistent power.
Right, like you're basically just streaming it at that point.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like, our controllers work on Bluetooth, and like those are fine, latency wise and stuff like that, but now it's like the Bluetooth controllers on top of that have to connect to the headset to connect to the computer, so that's even another jump of Bluetooth for the controllers as well. That's so much room for latency.
My remote's wired. I always have wired.
Oh yeah.
Most of
Yeah, I don't know if hardwiring a controller like that even means anything anymore, unless if it's like an actual wired controller, because I think it might just always be Bluetooth, but it charges. I don't know how a modern DualSense works.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just know that it just keeps it charged. I'm pretty sure this one specifically does have to stay plugged in.
Oh, really?
But yeah, usually I just try to keep it plugged in all the time anyway.
Right. But for the DualSense, like, yeah, it needs the Bluetooth to the headset. But then you're not always using the DualSense as that as well. You also have the Move controllers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And those you can't plug in.
Yeah. Of course.
Those just have its charging stand. Or they're not even wands anymore. They're like the little, like, the curve things now that sit.
Like cuffs almost.
Yeah. I mean, it's still cheaper than, like, what is the Valve Index is $1,300 still.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, the Half-Life Alyx machine. It's basically all that ever came out for it, specifically. And then, like, I don't know, a Vive is probably like $800 and $900 still. Like a modern Vive. I don't even know if there is a modern Vive. Maybe there's not. I mean, VR is basically dead, and it's really just Oculus that's in the market now.
Right. I mean, it's cool, but it's
a gimmick.
It's still kind of niche.
Yeah.
I mean, I only really like it for, like I was saying, like you being able to do things while having floating screens around, so you kind of feel like you're in the future.
Because otherwise it's so cumbersome.
Yeah,
like,
no, absolutely.
The setup is so much. You need to have all of these little towers around you.
Yeah.
You need to measure out your room until the argument has been since day one is that until they make it convenient to use, then it won't catch on.
Yeah, it'll only be for people who can afford that much space and that much money. So VR right now is more of a luxury. It's a luxury video game item, really.
Right.
If you think about it, it's like
even PCs
Porsche.
are like PCs are still so cumbersome and so expensive and out of reach for most people. It was
At least you can pay off a PC.
Yeah, right. But there was a recent a recent evaluation of Steam. Steam is a privately traded company. They are completely owned by Gabe Newell. Um, they're 100% private. It is Steam makes a lot of money. A lot of money, but Steam got valued at like $7 billion. Which kind of seems wrong for it being a marketplace.
Yeah.
But also, maybe PC gaming just isn't that big comparatively. You know, like, we have consoles that sell 55 million, 65 million. The Switch is at 160, 155 million.
Yeah.
Steam is not that big.
Mm-hmm.
There's not that many people on Steam.
No.
The Steam caps out, like, a lot of their games will cap out at like 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of copies that get sold on Steam. There's not that many. It's not Animal Crossing numbers.
Right.
There's no world that something on Steam is going to sell 50 million units. That's just not going to happen.
It's not as convenient. The whole setup to play Steam isn't as convenient. Well, now they have the Steam. Don't they have like a console now, kind of?
Well, they have the Steam Deck, which is still very niche. You need to have a Steam account. You need to buy it through Steam.
Do you have to have a PC though?
No.
Okay, so it is kind of like a separate thing, but you do have to have a Steam account.
But it's a handheld. It's strictly a handheld.
Oh, okay.
It works.
I thought they made something for that you could play.
They had a Steam machine back in the day, but that doesn't exist anymore.
No? Okay.
No.
Because that's it. Because, it is very cumbersome. Almost even more so than VR. Because at least with VR, all you need is space.
Right.
But with a PC, you need a desk.
Right, or you need space as well, or if you have it as like, if you were to use it as a console, you need enough space under your TV or wherever to use it as that, and some people do, and I'm not saying that there isn't people like that. I'm just saying
it's harder to obtain.
Right, that's a very niche gaming situation where like even Xbox has seen where like it's always the most convenient that's going to be what people gravitate towards, right?
Absolutely. Like, of course.
The most expensive hardcore Xbox isn't the one that's selling. Xbox doesn't sell a lot of units right now, but the one that's selling is the Series S because it's on sale. It's $250 and it's on sale for $200 all the time.
Right.
And a lot of people don't play physical games because even that's too cumbersome. A lot of people don't have the space for that. Yeah. A lot of people don't want to have the space for that.
Right. Yeah, of course. No one wants to work to play a game.
Right.
I mean, the easier you can play it, the better.
Right. It's so having like a $200 all-in-one box, and they're seeing a lot of luck with that. And same thing with the Nintendo has a very dedicated audience. I mean, they're not always going to show up. I mean, the Wii U has shown that, where the Wii U sold 14 million units. But, like, the Switch Lite as well is a dedicated handheld just like the Game Boy. That's also $200. That's the perfect machine for a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
You know? Like, their baby's first game console. You give them, I mean, even a used Switch at that point. I mean, we know non-used Switch sales, but even a used Switch, like, that accessibility is so much easier for people to grasp.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier on the wallet, too. Like,
right.
It's a lot harder for people to save up $400, $500, but it's a lot easier to be like, $200 is a quarter of my paycheck, and I don't need to pay bills this week.
Right.
Like, that's
And
That's a
now I
lot
can play
easier.
games
And now I can play games forever.
right?
Yeah. Like that's a very good easy that's easy to grasp. Like I'm I'm hyper specific where I'm just in the same boat where I wasn't able to save that much money. But also, like, I would rather have the physical games and stuff like that. So I would rather get to the point where I could save that much money. Most people aren't going to wait like that. PlayStation is selling very well, but PlayStation is still behind of what their targets are. PlayStation is outselling what the PS4 is at this point, but they're still behind of like what they had set in their mind. I don't know where I was going with all of this. The VR thing, yeah, but PlayStation isn't selling VR headsets on top of
No.
you know.
I didn't realize the price was that much more. I thought it was like maybe the cost of a couple
It's
remotes
so
or something.
expensive, man.
I didn't realize it was because I just thought it was like
and it's
a
not
headset, right? Because the rest of it's just the console, or is
Right.
it something else separately, or is it just the headset?
It's the headset and the controllers.
And the controller. So really, it should
and then
only be
usually
like,
they bundle a game with it, but that's whatever, at this point.
it should. I mean, I feel like a remote's probably anywhere from like $60 to $100.
Yeah, I want to say the original PlayStation VR headset was 300. The original.
That's
one.
a little better.
Yeah.
Because at least that's two remotes
and
a headset, so
and
it's like
it's less than the console. It's
yeah,
it's
that
less,
too. Right, that's the most important part, of course.
Like,
But no, I would have never imagined it was
usually
that much.
you would get like Beat Saber or something like that.
If anything, I would have expected it to like just come with the console for like a couple.
Yeah,
like as a bundle thing, a couple extra $100, and you get it all or something.
Because the headset came out a few years later.
True, yeah.
There's a lot of things were going against the headset that were just extremely poor decisions on PlayStation's part, and VR tech is so different than video games in general are miracles that they work, and porting games is its own specialty, and that's why you have studios that specifically do that. VR is a totally different beast because now you're not making 3D space a 2D object. Now 3D space is a 3D space. And you have to hardware wise account for modernizing a 3D space. And I don't think we're there yet. I mean, you'll have you'll have people that will update their games. And I'm sure that will work, but for something just to be backwards compatible, for instance, we're not there yet.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
PlayStation VR 2 right out the gate they announced was not backwards compatible with any of the first generation of PSVR.
Oh yeah.
So immediately all of the people that had that original device had no reason to get the new one. And if they did,
Also
none
true,
of it's gonna carry it over. There's some amazing games in VR, and then I think that I think it would be better just to get a PSVR 1.
Yeah.
Because those games are so good. Like Astrobot and Moss and Beat Saber. I mean, a lot of those games have gone other places, but not all of them. From Software has a VR game called Deracine that's only on PSVR 1. That's going to be lost to time.
Right.
I mean, there's a physical version of it, thank God, but that headset's going to be harder and harder to get.
Right. No, absolutely, yeah.
I really think VR is dead, and I think PlayStation might have been the one to kill it. I think it was always behind. But I don't know. Do you
I think
like
it's just
VR?
bigger than what we're fully capable of, like
Right.
you were saying. I think it's just we got the idea. We've always had the idea. It's been an idea for decades, you know. It's a sci-fi idea, and we're trying to make it real time.
Right.
And we have an idea of how to do it, but it really is so grand.
Right.
And it's kind of like in that same, like, it might require more true power than what we could put into a machine, to be honest. Like,
Right.
to really get what the full potential of what we want.
More power and like more understanding of the medium. Like,
Yeah. I mean, we're just, it's so fresh. It's still a baby,
For
really.
sure.
So, like, it really will be a while till we even
Right.
get to
I mean, modern
a
yeah.
level. It basically is, VR is in its Nintendo stage, if you think about it.
Right.
Like,
right.
it's very still much.
It's still
like,
very much in its Atari stage.
Yeah, even so. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's so basic still, and like.
And I don't think VR is I mean, I think VR will be the future. I think AR is the future.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's. I mean, Pokemon Go was like the first instance of that, but like with the Apple, you were talking about it with the pass through shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's AR.
Yeah.
Like that's the future.
Right.
And Google tried it with Google Glass forever ago, and it was the wrong time for it. But now I think the world is ready for
I would love
something
that.
more closer
Absolutely.
to that.
That makes a lot more sense.
You just have
I mean,
to.
gaming would be great, but I think like the practical use of that kind of stuff.
Right, and exactly the whether it's like Google Maps or like recipes or whatever, just like the amount of stuff.
Bro, I'd spend a lot of money on glasses.
Yeah.
That I could see through. That also put up shit.
Yeah, I mean it's inevitable. Hey, we're there.
Man.
Because I mean the Apple has that. That is what the Apple headset is. That it's just so bulky.
Yeah.
That's not even that's pre-Atari. That's
But that's
like
the other thing.
The Pong machine of this.
How do you? But that's also kind of like my. I'm scared of that because we've had so many instances of like new phones suddenly exploding.
Oh.
And so you're just wearing a new AR pair of glasses right next to your temple.
Yeah.
That's like my worst nightmare. Like.
What we should be scared.
Top 5.
Yeah.
Scariest.
Yes. Yeah, the Suicide Squad, like.
Right, that's the other thing too. You could get someone to hack.
Yeah.
Imagine someone walk into a mall and just hack everyone's AR glasses.
Right.
That would be nuts. I'm writing a book about that right now. That's
that exists. That's I'm sure that's already.
Sure, absolutely, it has to.
Yeah,
No
I'm
way.
sure that's a Twilight Zone episode. Like, what we should be scared of is there is a massive illiteracy problem.
Mm-hmm.
What we should be scared of with that much information is the ability to not take any information in at all.
Especially combined with the AI summarizing everything
Right.
and feeding us AI information.
And it's not going to be everyone people are going to be able to use those tools for great and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the 75-80% of the population that is creating AI schlock, creating, like your average person without, like, who doesn't read books, who doesn't go to school. I mean, there's a reason why it's the below average is now the average, right?
Right.
It's Chicago schools announced recently that nobody in their school districts are reading at a level that they're supposed to. Like, reading is at an all-time low across the United States, period.
Right.
And also, so is writing.
Yeah, well, it's just because we're in this age of visual media is taken over.
Right.
We consume everything visually through video.
But we also read everything. We read everything.
I guess that's true.
And nobody understands what they're reading.
It depends. Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you are, I guess. I feel like there's at a certain age, like, this generation, at least as kids and stuff, it's like the only way they consume things is TikTok and YouTube, and there's not a lot of I guess maybe unless you're on Twitter or something or reading
Well,
closed captions like
texting,
I guess,
Facebook,
but texting's
Twitter.
all shorthand.
Like
so there's a lot of like
your average child, like your toddler isn't reading.
I think reading
They're reading picture books.
Reading texts in Facebook and stuff like that is a lot different than reading like an actual novel full of paragraphs and depth.
But even then,
I think there's a difference.
How old
at least
were you
in,
doing that? Like, I was reading a series of unfortunate events.
I was reading
and all that
really
stuff, right?
young, dude. I was reading hardcore.
And I've had
always
social
been
media
reading.
forever as well. I've had a cell phone forever as well too.
That's true, but we were different. I think
for sure.
It's 10 times that now.
Right.
We're in the age of iPad babies and
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like literally 3 years old, they have their own iPad with a. We had one. I think we gifted it to a baby, but it was like the padding is 4 inches on each side, and they just.
Yeah, they're like the Tiger Electronics toys, but they're just an iPad with YouTube Kids on it. Now.
Exactly, and that's from like a meat as soon as they can grasp. Whereas I feel like even with our intake of social media and stuff, like it wasn't 24/7. We definitely had.
Right, I was a very different kid, so I mean, like. I know some people aren't, but like I was the kid with a portable DVD player and like a Game Boy and like all that kind of stuff.
I didn't have a lot of that kind of stuff,
especially when I was
till later, anyways.
Yeah, with me being sick all the time, I had all those things because I was just not at home all the time.
Totally fair, yeah, absolutely.
So I did live a different situation, but even books aren't selling like they used to, man. Like,
right. No, absolutely. People and the other thing is even people a big thing now is they're like they'll buy books and then like return them and shit and like screw over a lot of authors and stuff.
Right.
That's been like a big thing recently.
Right.
Because authors have to pay for like all that plus the illustrator fees and stuff.
Right. The residuals and stuff. Like that's all it works like almost the movie industry in that aspect. If
you buy a book, give it to a library, put it in one of those fancy free bookshelf things, give it to a child, or don't return it.
A lot of books are resellable. A lot of
resell it, yeah. Do it that way. At least then you may even make more money.
Or read it again.
Or just donate it.
Read it again.
Or read it again. Or there's so many things that are better. Don't return. You're not getting back at Amazon.
The problem is like literacy. You can read and be illiterate. Like that's not.
No. Yeah.
There's a huge. People are reading and they're just not like taking it in.
No. Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Media literacy.
Well, that's what I meant by reading a book and reading just a bunch of stuff on social media, because that's all.
And even then, like, I mean, people just don't know, like, synonyms for most things now.
That's true.
Stuff like that, because they're so, like, not reading books.
Literally, yesterday, I was on one of the creative writing pages that I was following. Someone posted something about looking for like I don't remember exactly, but somewhere in the middle they asked looking for a good website for synonyms, and I was like what? I was like, at thesaurus.com, you can go to dictionary.com. You can just use a regular dictionary like in your hand.
You know, the book that we've been using.
I was like, no way, bro. Synonyms? Because it was something, they were like asking, it was a mixture of other things, but I was just like, come on.
Really?
Like, what do you mean? Plus, there's even, like, nowadays, my phone, I mean, I have Grammarly on my phone and on my computer, but you can right-click on most other, like Microsoft, I
Right.
think, and it'll give you a list of synonyms for those type of things.
100%. The
But still, like
some
that's
somewhere as well, like the access to all of this information has made people incapable of researching fucking anything.
that's
And
what I
that's
think.
another big thing about
That's
this
what I think
AI
we've
conversation.
truly right all the way from AI all the way. This covers like everything. I think we've truly lost or losing the ability to research.
Yeah, because
I
there's
think
just
that's
so
what it
much
is. I
thrown
think
at us.
that's what it is. All wrapped around all of this is that we have so much instant information. No one's actually. I mean, there's obviously we have scientists and stuff who
Right.
do that research stuff, but like for the most part, people aren't looking stuff up anymore. Because
Right.
you used to have to like go through multiple books just to cite your references and
100%.
you know stuff like that, and so you were forced to read different types of things to make
Right.
things. But now it's so instant, and now AI literally creates a whole thing from thousands of references, and you have no idea, you know, where it's from. Literally, that's what it is. I mean, we just no one's researching anything anymore
Right.
at all.
And maybe because it's the defamation of like what the internet was back in like the 90s and the early
Mhm.
2000s of like nobody took this shit seriously, but now the whole
Yeah.
world's happening on the internet and nobody's taking the world seriously. And it's all happening on the internet and everybody's treating everything like it's a fucking Facebook post because it is. I mean, it
Yeah.
is, but that's how the it used to take
Literally.
2-3 days for the New York Times stop the presses only happen like very rarely.
Yeah.
It used to take a couple of days for you to get the news, and it used to take even longer for shit to develop. But because shit happens so instantly,
Yeah.
people just expect it
Everything
rather than just look it up.
Everything is a TikTok. That's literally that's like everything.
Yeah, and nobody
Everything
has
you
the
do.
attention span to like make it any longer than that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Which
very few people that do like movie essays anymore, you know.
yeah, well, I mean there is, and that all my content on YouTube is long form content. Like
No, I'm
long,
saying there are people, but it's
Right.
not it's definitely short form now, like 5 minutes or less.
it's so interesting where like all of these documentaries and fucking horror like true crime analysis shows and stuff like that, and all of this stuff that takes deductive reasoning and like media literacy or just interpreting things around you, and people just don't know how to fucking do it.
Right.
And it blows my mind. It really does. I don't get it. This wasn't where I thought the conversation where I would go, but I
It
mean
got
this
real.
is totally this is totally where I wanted it to go. Because it's true. I mean, this is a conversation where I've wanted to have out loud, and Kyle and I kind of talk about it every once in a while because we talk about how dumb things are, but like
Right.
us talk about it on something is
No, it's good. I mean, it's good to get it out. But yeah, that's like the big thing is, you know, people just take everything as face value for the most part.
right.
They have their like sources and they hold them true, and most sources are controlled by money. So
Right.
you know,
And it's not like you shouldn't take things at face value. Some things you should. Some things you don't have.
90% of the stuff I always double check.
Well, I mean, like
I'm a paranoid person.
there's plenty of things that are the things that
Right, yeah.
Are
If there's enough context to it, of course,
right.
you know.
Like my
But any questionable things.
right, the music artist that you listen to isn't gonna randomly drop the N word in one of the songs. I mean, maybe nowadays, who knows?
Right, but if so, you know.
You know, like there's a sort of things at face value that we come to expect from the world of like things that get, you know, like rotated through the eyes of pop culture and stuff like that is inherently good and is inherently fun and like not lighthearted but like reality television. There was always this tongue-in-cheek of like, you know, there's still producers. There's still somebody like pulling strings and like making shit happen.
Of course.
Like there's still there was like there was like an inherent like there wasn't like some evil thing happening that you had to take, right? I mean, maybe there should have been, right? Like with the whole like Nickelodeon shit that happened and like Michael Jackson and like maybe there's somebody should have been looking into some of this shit. But inherently like the media that we want to watch is supposed to be like, you know, it's supposed to be an escape.
Right.
It's not supposed to be like it's not supposed to be like, you know, like some dark, horrible thing that we're being...
Of course.
But a lot of the stuff that's being force-fed to people, or people are just inherently drawn to, is dark and sinister, and a lot of that stuff, just people have lost the ability to parse through it. Like, this horror... I keep saying horror. It's not horror because horror is a totally different thing, but like the true crime aspect of all of it, or like that really fascinates me because it is like this huge detective thing, and like people don't know how to take any cues from a room. Like social cues are just non-existent now.
Right. Yeah.
Like people are just like, I have social anxiety.
They're not as distinct.
Yeah. I have social anxiety, but like, you know how you get rid of social anxiety? You fucking talk to people. You try to understand. You know, you don't just like start speaking, right? You don't just like hope that somebody likes you kind of thing. Like, you learn how to talk.
Right.
Like, conversations will happen naturally. It's not just like some crazy thing. And the same thing with like I don't know where I'm going with this at all, but like the a lot of these social people have stage fright. Like that's a totally different thing, right?
Right.
Like that's one thing, but like people just like I don't know, just don't have like. People have just lost it, I guess. People just
Everyone's
have lost
losing
the ability to be human.
Yeah, well, you know,
so
that all
strange.
ties back to the computers and
We've regressed.
the VR.
So much.
You know,
And there's
everything's so
right.
instant.
And because it's so... Maybe because it's so convenient and stuff like that. Which, like, your video games, I mean, like, yeah, I want my enjoyment, I want it to be convenient. I totally get that. But the world is built on convenience, and you know.
I just can't wait until we're at that stage where we're kind of like WALL-E, and we're all just in those wheelchairs in space, you know,
right,
bobbing around like blobs. I think that's peak society.
But like.
Master class right there. We've done it. We don't have to do anything. We're just floating around.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, like, the WALL-E or the Idiocracy thing, like, it's so dark and, like, so extreme.
Yeah.
But the reason why it rings so true is because, like, that could that could happen.
No, absolutely.
The
For sure.
the idea you see yourself in that, like the reason why that you see the world in that, and that's why it's supposed to speak to you, but the majority of people right now don't see it as that, Patrick. The majority of people just see it as funny fat people in this robot movie.
Right. Well,
that's the problem with this. People.
It's fine. It all ends the same.
I know.
We got really sad. Let's talk about video games again.
Yeah. So I've been playing Elden Ring.
Nice. You still haven't beat the DLC?
No. No, I put like probably another 6 hours into it this week, and I probably still have like another 10, 12 hours to go, depending on how long bosses take.
Yeah. And you're trying to do like all of it though. So.
Yeah, everything. I mean, I know I've probably like locked myself out of some of the NPC quests and stuff like that, but
sure, yeah.
I try to get the majority of that done. Try to see every inch of the map. I'll have an episode where I'll go through all the mini bosses and stuff like that and make sure I hit all of them. I think I've gotten pretty close to all of them, but there's like one or two probably. Damn, man, I am feeling some shit with Elden Ring. Like,
yeah.
Dude,
is it upsetting?
You talk some media literacy of some shit. Like, that game will make you feel some things in this DLC. It is heartbreaking.
Is it? Yeah.
It is. The story that they've crafted is so cool, and like the way it all comes together with like America and Mesmer, and just like it's not even like I haven't seen the end of it, but just like what the world is telling you is so cool. There was a post of like it was a meme of Bart and Milhouse sitting at this little branch tree thing.
Yeah.
And it was saying, I think it said something like time to be sad, or we're safe but sad, something like that. It was a meme of like of this specific place. This specific place is like the one village in all of this DLC that's not ruined. It's like in pristine condition, but nobody lives there anymore. It's just vacant. And the only sign of life in this village is like this golden tree, and it was like the golden tree is supposed to be like this tree of protection that will basically it's like it gives you the spell to do it yourself as well, but basically it's like a force field kind of thing. And the idea is that America was the only one who could cast this spell. It was like her secret specifically of like the ability to create an Erd tree out of thin air, basically. And you stumble onto this place that's completely off the map and stuff like that. And if you know the lore of Elden Ring, like a lot of people are from this village, and the reason why they were able to get out is because of this specific little tree that America left behind. Wow. America throughout this DLC is hated against. People hate her.
Right.
And all the statues of her are headless. Like, fucking churches are destroyed throughout the game. Like, people hate her. I don't know, man. It was very cool to see, like, out of all of this stuff, you know, like, you just had this moment of, like, levity,
right?
You know,
yeah.
Like even though this whole place is sad, like it's still a safe spot, and like the music changes. It's like the first time you hear music in a very long time, and it's the only time ever in the game where it's a happy song.
Right, and you're not about to fight something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I thought it was going to change. Like it's a huge open field, and there's like, and not all around you, but like on the edge of the cliff, there's a whole bunch of like houses and stuff like that. I don't even know if we're out of time. Oh, we still got plenty. The there's a bunch of like brick houses and stuff like that all around and stuff, but like the tree, the sapling of the Erd tree is like in the middle of this field, and I walk up to it, I'm like, this doesn't feel like it's the only thing that should be here.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to trigger something or not, but then you see that there's like there's a pickup item in front of the tree. You pick it up, and it's the spell to cast the tree spell. And then it gives you, of course, the lore of what that spell is and why it exists and stuff. You need like level 70 faith to cast it. It's a legendary spell, but it's like a super high end legendary spell.
Yeah.
And yeah, it basically tells you this short story of like America and her willingness to cast this tree as the whole world around her is falling apart and being scorched and stuff. She wanted to protect her home, and like a lot of the people that are from that home are what ended up going against her and stuff like that. And like what I think I've grasped. I mean, I'll watch a Vadi video on it and see if like I interpreted it the same way or whatever, because a lot of this is just interpretations and stuff, and you're kind of just like you're supposed to connect the dots. But like Ronnie is from this town, which Ronnie in the game I'm married to. You know, like I went through this whole quest and stuff, and like the idea, all of the Empyrean bloodline is supposed to be from this town. So also Mikola, the big boss that you're chasing after this guy, is from this town. His brother Mesmer. There was a couple. I think Moog is also from there. Like there's a lot of people from that specific area.
Wow.
In this one village, and it's the reason why, even more so, that the world keeps falling apart.
Right.
And I don't know if you're supposed to interpret that Erd tree as what ends up being the Erd tree later in the game. That's kind of like what I feel like it's going to be. I don't know what the end boss is. I assume I'm gonna fight Mikola, but I don't think Mikola is going to be the final boss.
No.
It doesn't feel that way.
Sure.
Like it feels like we're building to something even bigger. So I don't know. The last boss that I fought was all the NPCs. Spoilers for Elden Ring. I'll clap and then I'll clap again. You have all these NPCs, right, that are all like on the search for Mikola, and they're all like on this golden path quest, and they're all under like a spell of his.
Yeah, you like run into them occasionally.
Yeah.
Have a little chat.
And they're all like, "Yeah, we're on the way."
Yeah.
Well, at some point, that spell breaks, and it just happens randomly. Like, I assume that there's a trigger point of some sort, but I was just in some random part of the map, and it was just like it just happened, where it's like a seal has broken, and something seems different. And then you go talk to the NPCs, and it's like, I feel different. I don't... And they'll either be like, oh, well, I want to follow Mikola. I think we've talked about this already.
A little bit, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, some of them are still like, I don't care if it's the spell or not that made me want to follow him. I still want to follow him. I believe in him and stuff like that. And Mikla's Golden Order is kind of like the remnants of what America was.
Yeah.
And why there was all these churches and stuff like that. But Mikola, on the other hand, is trying to cast away all of this. He's leaving his body parts and all of his emotions, his love, his humanity, his eyes, you're finding them all over the place in these little crosses, and a lot of the NPCs are next to these crosses. So you go talk to them. Some of them are like, yeah, dude, it was that spell. Fuck that dude. It was fuck that, brainwashing me. That's stupid. Like,
yeah.
what? Can't believe you did that shit.
That's
you
fair.
want to kill him? So do I. So, like, yeah, there's a point at the end, or not the end, but what I assume I'm close to the end. I'm in, like, the last area.
Yeah.
Where you have a giant fight, and you have one dude is on my side. I'd imagine if I found like one or two more NPCs, or depending on how far during the quest line I got, that there could have been more.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like a whole army type thing.
Yeah, but you go against like 7 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
2v7.
Yeah, it's
plus your mimics.
That Liza P fight. Remember with all the. Just
right.
like that.
Yeah.
They start out with one, and then a second one comes right at the end of health line, the end of health, or if you can time it, you can kill them fast enough.
Yeah.
And then like by the end of it, there's like they just all just run out.
Nice.
And then if you're not fast enough, yeah, you have like 5 to 7 people just all on fighting it, and versus like
each doing their own thing, and
yeah, and then I have one other dude and my mimic versus 7 dudes, and it's a lot. And it's not like each one of these dudes are hard specifically, but because they're all trying to gang up on you,
right.
And then you're trying to focus on one, and you can't focus on others. It was a lot for me to comprehend at the end of the episode. The episodes that are coming out now on the channel are like an hour long, but the episodes I've started recording are a lot longer. I started doing like 4-hour episodes, 3-hour episodes, and I kind of enjoy that more. Like,
yeah.
I think I'll carry that on with other games too. But I don't know. It just feels like you're getting more shit done.
Right.
Rather than like taking 2 months to beat a 4-hour game because I'm doing 30 minutes,
True, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've just been playing a lot of Elden Ring, dude, and it's so good. It's so good, and the story is coming full circle. Feels so accomplishing.
Nice.
Like all of the exploratory work and digging and stuff, like all the lore notes that I've read on the channel and stuff. I think the last episode that came out of Elden Ring was episode 100.
Oh wow. On Elden Ring specifically?
Yeah, I stopped counting I stopped counting main episodes because of the DLC. I started numbering those separately when I started that.
Yeah.
Just because, it made it super easy that you just go to a whole different place.
Right.
And, like, separate it. But, yeah, I think all of Elden Ring, including the DLC, is 100 episodes now, which is so much Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, 2 years of work on that, 2 or 3 years of that, and it feels, I don't know, it feels cool. There's so much cool shit.
Yeah.
What a cool game. Other than that, like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I want to play, that I meant to play.
Yeah.
Flintlock is out. It's gotten middling reviews, but I really want to play it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's getting like 7s, and it seems fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The hard thing with those games, you're making a Souls-like or a Souls-light, and it doesn't feel like Souls. Like, you're automatically shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
And I know they called it a Souls-light, but if the stuff that is adjacent to Souls doesn't feel good, does, I mean, then you can't help it. Like, apparently the parry is like bad and stuff like that. So
Oh, really?
yeah, but I don't know. I'll
What
give
are you
it a
gonna
try
do?
whenever I do.
Maybe they can fix that later.
Yeah.
Patch it.
There's a couple of other games like that. Thank goodness You're Here is finally out. I really want to play that. That's a British humor game. That's all like a whole bunch of little mini games. You play as a little guy who slaps things and
Oh,
yeah.
is that on Game Pass?
I don't know. I know it's on Switch and Steam. I don't know if it's on Xbox or PlayStation.
Or even even on a console.
Yeah.
Or besides Switch.
Yeah.
No.
Next time I'll come more prepared of like having news stories and stuff like that. And
That's
things
fine.
looked up.
We still kind of went on a tangent.
Yeah. No,
About
this has been a pretty
Other
beefy
stuff.
episode already.
Yeah,
Um,
well, other than Tunic, which I'm streaming Tunic.
yeah, we went on a tangent there. Or I did.
I'm still playing Neon White.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it got kind of frustrating, so now I'm just doing it like level by level
that
because
makes sense, right?
it went less streamlined,
Right,
like-
and became more puzzly.
became more puzzly, and I was like, oh, this isn't fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still fun, but like in a different way now. Now you have to like before it was just like you're like going to the beat and running and doing the things, and now you're like, fuck, which gun do I use? Like, oh, I gotta think. Like, you gotta have to like kind of and it's a little more. And I'm like, all right, I don't. This is different. Now I have to kind of approach it differently. I don't want to play 4 of those in a row, so now I do like 1 or 2, and then I like switch it. So then I switch it from that to I still play the multiverses
Oh, okay.
because they have an update.
Yeah, they've been.
They just did like a Goosebumps, not a Goosebumps, Beetlejuice, the Beetlejuice guy, and
Beetlejuice himself.
and
the titular Beetlejuice.
and him and one other character. They added 2 new characters.
They added
To, like,
fucking what's his
storylines.
face from the Matrix, Agent Smith.
That was before then. They added another
Yeah.
one since then. I literally just
I don't remember.
played it.
But Comic-Con they announced somebody, right? Or Evo, they announced somebody at Evo. That's what it was.
Samurai Jack.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it was
that's
Samurai
what it was.
Jack.
It was
yeah,
Samurai
yeah,
Jack.
Samurai
Yeah.
Jack. So those
yeah.
2 just got added. That's the newest DLC that I just saw.
Yeah.
Super fun. That's another fun where I can just play with your friends. I still haven't played any PvP. I still just kind of played the story, but I need to just do that. Just why not?
Hey, why not?
I think I've gotten good at a couple characters now.
Actually.
Just PvE.
Not just the
PvP.
campaigns.
Yeah.
I'd rather, like Mortal Kombat and stuff.
Yeah.
The stories.
Yeah, I like the stories. I mean, and you still unlock stuff and like get
Right.
all the things, but yeah, so that's fun. And then there's a 4th game.
A 4th game.
There's a 4th game that I've been juggling.
A little small indie game or anything.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I did cancel my Game Pass subscription for the next couple of weeks, so I will be resubscribing to that. But I figured I don't need to keep paying for it while I'm focused on just Elden Ring.
Right. Yeah. Oh, Diablo.
Oh, hell yeah.
Diablo. Yeah, I've gotten really far into that. I'm almost level 50.
Yeah. Diablo 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sick. Because that's on Game Pass now, too, right?
Yep. It's
Yeah.
starting to get. It's starting to get to this point. I think I had it on easy for too long because I was just like wiping through levels. I'm a necromancer,
Yeah.
and they are kind of OP early.
If you want to re-roll a character, don't feel bad. Every season it re-rolls.
Well, no, I raised the level because I was like just fucking tearing through stuff
Yeah.
too easily, but
Yeah, because I mean,
but yeah, but now I'm level 40 something, and then it just told me that they're gonna wipe my chest
Yep.
for a new season. I'm like, oh, well, why'd I keep any of this stuff? Because
Right.
I'm more of like in a collector's mentality where like, oh, this is like this is a rare thing. Hell
Right.
yeah, I get to keep it as a trophy. But nope.
No,
So
you're gonna
I
re-roll
did
your whole
all
character.
that for nothing.
Yeah, kind of. There is some progression element to it. I don't know what the extent of it is, but
Yeah.
yeah, that is the hard thing with the live service Diablo.
Yeah.
They started with 3 is that every season you completely wipe your character and you start a new one with whatever the new theme of the expansion is.
Which is fine. Like I was collecting things more or less to up. Like if I wanted to start a new character, they had all these things. I didn't realize, kind of like in Like a Dragon, where
Right.
like you kind of set yourself up.
I mean,
I didn't realize that happened. So now that I know, I can play it a little differently. But also, my issue is everything's starting to become very like repetitive.
yeah,
There's
it
a lot
starts
of the
becoming
same
grindy.
like 50 skeletons pop up, wipe through them, a couple giant things with an axe pop up, wipe through them. Every
Yeah.
dungeon's kind of like the same figure eights and
Yeah.
unlock, collect a stone, bring the stone back, unlock door.
Yeah.
So
Damn, I've heard that.
I'm
That
losing
sucks.
because the stories that you come across are kind of cool,
Yeah.
and some of them are sad and blah blah blah. But like, I think that the angle that you're forced to watch everything in, for me at least, loses that like. I'm not as connected to these characters because
Yeah.
they're like the size of board game characters, you know?
Right.
And I don't know what that means, but like they're telling me these stories and I don't know.
Right. Diablo has a lot of lore, and it has, I mean, all
I
of
think maybe it's too much.
all
Maybe
of
that's
the,
my problem.
right. All of it's an act. It's a Blizzard game, so
Yeah.
like it's just like WoW, where it's just as dense, and it's been around even longer than WoW. I mean, Warcraft has been around for a very long time as well, so there is that. But there is a lot of lore, including, I would say, the first time in any Diablo, playing it through and finding everything is a totally viable way to do it. Just to like learn different things do, but
Right.
also that story is very well written in all
Yeah.
of those games.
Oh, I mean,
and
I've enjoyed the main storyline,
yeah,
the story and stuff.
and it does the Dark Souls thing where like loot has lore specific things, and like that tells a bigger picture of the story. And there is a lot of environmental stuff, but I think the problem with it becoming a live service game is that repetitive nature, where like
Yeah.
Diablo 1 and 2 are such a fucking blast to just play through. It's like maybe 20 hours your first time playing through, and then it's a lot faster your later times. And it fucking rules. And doesn't need any extra bullshit. And like, I understand, like, they're gonna do that Vessel of Hatred expansion is the new one.
Yeah.
Where they had like Matt Booty on stage to announce it after
Yeah.
they fired everyone.
Right.
It's just such a weird way to approach it, like making somebody just get rid of their whole character, like at having a way to like keep your character. I guess
At least the character. I mean, the
Right.
items, I guess, are fine. I mean, I would like to be able to keep the ones that actually have lore and stuff attached, you know, so I can have some sort of keepsake. But
yeah. I mean,
just as a collector.
balancing wise, I guess I don't see how you do it because of like, well, is your character just gonna be losing? Because now you have to balance your character to be level 40, and if the expansion is if everybody's supposed to jump in at 0, now you gotta
That's
balance
true,
it.
yeah.
So that expansion is what, the level cap?
Yeah,
And
true.
then-
There has to be some sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the idea with Game Pass is that you're constantly supposed to be feeding new people into it, right? So like, any time could be somebody's first time, and that's kind of like the live service mentality versus like
That's
just
true.
having like a badass game and then some straight up DLC for it would have been cool, you know? And
Yeah.
I mean,
They could have started the live service with like something different.
right. Yeah, I don't get the whole Diablo live service thing. Some people absolutely adore it, but this Diablo 4 has had some big ups and downs as it
I
came
guess
out.
with playing with friends and stuff, it would be funner too because you could all reset together and kind of like grow together. You
Right.
know, like as a squad. You know,
Right.
because you join different
Yeah, and if you did that for
clans or
like one
guilds or
season or
whatever.
whatever, and then you don't have to worry about somebody falling off or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Next season it would be
Exactly. Because then you could just start anew and do it somewhere else or
right.
whatever. Yeah.
And that's kind of like the idea. They kind of want you to be doing that all the time, or like
Mm-hmm.
at they want you to try every class at any point of the season.
I guess that also makes sense too. Yeah, it kind of forces you. Not necessarily. I mean, you could choose the same thing every
Yeah.
time, but if you're given the opportunity and it's all fresh, why not?
Right, because
Yeah.
now like once you figure out how to beat the campaign as the necromancer, well now you don't need to find everything. Maybe you'll
Right.
have some specific items or stuff, but I don't think so. I don't think they have item specific class stuff
Yeah.
other than weapons.
Oh yeah, weapons. Yeah.
But
It's
like
just weapons.
lore items and stuff like that.
Not that I've
Like
come across specifically. I mean, it feels kind of because the story is kind of about like death and stuff. It feels kind of like it's written around me because I'm a
Right.
necromancer, but I think that's just coincidence. I don't think that it's like
I mean,
directed that way, but I won't know until I try something.
right, necromancy is the I necromancy is huge in Diablo. So
Right.
like necromancy lore is very specific to Diablo.
Right, which is
so
why I
that's
kind of
kind
feel
of a good
like
character
I'm
for
in
it.
the.
Because like the whole
I almost feel like I'm part of it, even more so.
I forgot what the Diablo 3 expansion was called, but that was the necromancer expansion.
Oh really?
And like
Yeah, maybe that's like a
they added that.
newer character for this thing or something. It's so OP because you can
Yeah.
like summon skeletons right off the bat.
Right.
And by like level maybe 25, you can summon 3 regular skeletons, 3 mages, and a big old golem.
Yeah.
So you have like 7 NPCs to fight. I almost never fight. Dude.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
like stand back and like rip people's skin off with this one thing, and I'm
Mage
like, this
classes,
is easy,
man.
dude.
That's how people get through Souls, and that's how people
Yeah.
get through Baldur's Gate. The necromancy in Baldur's Gate was the same thing, where like you get like 2 skeletons at first, and then
Oh,
like
really?
the higher you level, it's like more skeletons. So like by the end
Oh
of it,
my
you have like
gosh.
12 skeletons.
That's amazing.
It's like crazy.
Bro, I'm
Elden
gonna try to
Ring-
make. Can you make your skeletons dance? That
Oh.
should be it.
I don't know. Elden Ring, the more you level up your skeleton spirits, they get taller and bigger.
Oh right, yeah, I've seen that. That's really cool. Yeah, I
they
like
start out
that.
as like basic skeletons with spears, and by the
Yeah.
end of it, they have like long hair and like rotting clothes.
They're, like,
and,
solid, yeah.
Giant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I like that. I think I had skeletons for a while when I played.
Yeah, I did too. They're really they're super cheesy because skeletons in the lore of Elden Ring or in Souls get back up
Right.
if
And
as
you
long
get
as you
few of
don't
them.
hit them. Yeah,
And you get like 3 of them.
2.
Well, 2. I think
Yeah.
eventually you can get 3, right?
There might be a 3 for the casters.
Maybe.
Because I
yeah.
think there's different types of skeletons as
Right.
well. I always stuck with the spears because they get bleed damage.
Oh, right. That's
Yeah.
true. But yeah. When they get knocked down, the NPCs usually ignore them,
Right.
and then they get back up, but that's only one other time.
Right.
But still, that's better than like.
I think they've patched in some bosses because every once in a while I'll see a boss just like specifically go for it, where it's like they just turn around and be like, "Pah!"
Just make sure, like,
Yeah.
not today. Yeah, yeah.
Like, asshole.
That's so funny. It'd be so funny to see.
Versus like the DLC, dude. The DLC, they're so fucking aggressive. I
Yeah.
think we talked about that last time
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Where like I'll have like two regular summons and my mimic, and like all of them are like attacking him, and I'll be on the other side of the room healing, and they'll just fucking
As
run
soon as they,
towards me.
yeah.
And it's like, Jesus, dude. They aren't fucking around at
It is
all.
kind of cool to think that they like recognize that you're healing,
Yeah.
and so they're like, no, but at the same time, yeah, that's extra aggressive. It's like, bro,
So aggressive.
yeah, for sure.
I mean what all of that data is in the game on how you play and stuff like that. Like from the amount like you parry and like
Right.
to the different types of attacks you use and stuff, like all that data is there. They're paying attention to that, and if you go to the Colosseums, like the stats that they keep are insane.
Really?
Yeah, like the amount of specific deaths and stuff like that.
Oh wow. Death by cliff.
Yeah, falls, poisons, kills by poisons and stuff like that. I mean, they keep a lot of stats. So like even under the hood, I'm sure they have like some way to measure like how many runs with this weapon and stuff like that.
For sure.
Because the game's constantly online as well, unless you have it offline. But if you don't, it's just always online, even if you're not connected to anything.
Right, because you're getting those little white guys, little white ghosts,
yeah,
and messages and stuff, right?
Yeah. So I imagine like they have data on like healing and stuff and like how people play and stuff like that, and they'll always like fine tune and balance stuff, but they really like to like completely subvert play styles and stuff like that with their games.
Well, they want to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, they don't want you to get bored.
Yeah, every boss can't be too repetitive or.
Right, and that was a huge complaint about the main game of like, there's so many field bosses and a lot of them are repetitive. And it's like, well, yeah, but there's different variations on different things, but there are some repetitive stuff, and there's a lot of it.
It can be anything can be a little repetitive because some of it has to be like lore based and stuff and.
Right. Yeah, like the Falling Star Beasts, I don't think change in any of the fights. But they're in specific spots of like where a star fell.
Right.
And the other implication of like these stars aren't rocks. They're
not stars, yeah.
They're alien creatures that are, ruining our existence, which is like
a whole nother thing.
Right.
It's barely even touched on. We could do a whole DLC on space.
Yeah, well, I mean, so like a lot of the cosmic stuff is touched in the game, and including in the DLC. There's like some crazy cosmic stuff with like the fingers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of it was because of glintstone and like the magic that they use is all moon based.
All the glints. Yeah.
And Bloodborne is same thing, it's like magic from the moon. Like that's a reoccurring theme through all of their games, but the with Elden Ring, like all of the rot in the world and stuff like that wasn't created by man. It was like harnessed by man, but created by these moon things crashing to the sky.
Right.
And so much so that they locked away the god of rot down at the bottom of the like this chamber.
Right.
Ronnie did specifically. And you go down into the underground, and there's a giant lake of rot, and you go into this little Colosseum catacombs area, and you're expecting this huge rotting thing, and it's like a moon centipede and it's like casting like void balls everywhere.
Oh,
and
wow.
like every single one of its beads of its tail is like a galaxy, like crazy lore implications and stuff. It just makes it even it gave me like an existential dread the last time I fought it, where like you see like the stars spin around in its tail and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
as you kill it, you're just like thinking about the millions and millions, if not billions, of life forms that you
Right,
just
that could have
wiped
just been,
out.
yeah, that could have been intertwined into that.
Right into that
Wow.
beast.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, if he's the god of rot, I'm sure those galaxies probably weren't
Right, and he's
the
like,
best.
you,
You would hope, I guess. Maybe you did them all a favor.
yeah, who knows? Like
But still, no, that's deep. It's
yeah, there and like the thought of like this beast is like so cosmic that it harnesses galaxies but can still live inside of space and time. It's just forever.
it could be trapped somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a physical manifestation of rot itself.
Right. Yeah.
And
That
what
you
it
can
means
defeat.
to us. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Astoral, I think is the name of the boss.
Mm.
And yeah, that whole quest line is crazy because at the end of that is when you get married and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
You find Ronnie. When you beat that, once you beat that boss, you get sent up to one part of the map. That you've been underneath a bunch of the times. It's like the Alberneric village that lives in the shadows. It's
Yeah.
like underneath this cliff, and on the map you see that cliff has like a church and stuff like that. But then you go to that church and you see that there's like a giant fucking hole, and where the star fell through and everything.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, it's crazy shit. I don't know. Games are crazy, man, and media literacy is important to learn, especially to appreciate a game like Elden Ring,
So true.
because there's a lot happening and there's a lot thrown at you without ever telling you.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah, and a lot of it's up to interpretation and being able to parse through some shit. And
Yeah, like Skidoo and Shadow.
oh yeah, Shadow and Gale. When people
Gale and
I used
Jail.
to, I used
I mean,
to
I'll never not call it Skidoo, but
yeah, of course not. It says
it was a pretty eye-opening time when I learned it wasn't.
it
what
was Shadow Tree.
I
Yeah.
was like, well, I mean,
It's
I
like,
guess
oh,
that
that
makes more
makes sense.
sense, but
Skidoo
it's not as fun,
fragments. Yeah, and I pick it up and I'd be like skadoosh.
right?
Yeah,
How could you not?
just like Kung Fu Panda.
Come on.
It's my hero. Yeah.
But yeah, those are my 4 games that I've been switching up. They're all kind of like short in their own way.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to pick up a short game that's just kind of like a whatever game.
Yeah, I haven't found a new story game yet. I beat like a dragon, and now I'm like, what do I want to play?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Elden Ring is my story game, but I don't know. Maybe not.
I guess I could restart Elden Ring. I guess I'll do that after I beat Tunic, though, since I started
Yeah.
Tunic.
I tore through a lot of that game so fast.
Yeah.
And then I got to the DLC. I mean, the DLC I've been getting through pretty fast, especially since I started recording bigger chunks. It's just so much bigger than I thought it was, man.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's going to be 20 hours long. If you're beating the Elden Ring DLC in 20 hours, you've already beaten it like several times
Right,
over.
yeah.
Like, there's no way. There's no way that's 20 hours. That's crazy. Yeah. I don't know. Anything else? I don't have any news or anything. We kind of talked about what I did have. I kind of wanted to.
They added the Tesla car in Rocket League and
Oh.
Fortnite.
So you can drive the cars in Fortnite?
Yeah. You know, the Tesla car.
Oh, okay. Yes, okay. The Tesla car is in Rocket League.
And Fortnite.
And in... Oh, the racing one.
Yeah, or whatever, some sort of...
It's in both of those.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's also in Rocket League.
Yeah, I think the racing one is called... Is it called Rocket?
It may also be the...
Rocket Racing?
It may also be the actual Fortnite Battle Royale, because you can get vehicles.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
It may have been added to that
why
too.
not?
I didn't
The
look into
Cybertruck.
that as much. Yeah, but it was a
Yeah.
Cybertruck. It got added to both,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I mean, I guess honestly, for a Rocket League vehicle, the Cybertruck is perfect because you know exactly it's literally the shape of a hitbox.
Yeah.
So it's like you know exactly where it's not going to get nicked off of like a wing or something because it's just a box shape.
Right.
So honestly, it could be the perfect Rocket League vehicle, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know how tall it is. It could be maybe the height of a van, which may be the throw off because vans are a little bulky, but I haven't been on to download that DLC. I just saw it on my feed recently and was like, that's funny. That's a weird
Yeah. Weird vehicle.
direction they were going because for a while it was a lot of like I think the one before that was Star Wars or something. It was a lot of thematic
Yeah.
stuff, and then they're like, "Oh man, wow, we need a new vehicle."
Tesla.
Tesla. Maybe Elon hit them up. Who
Yeah,
knows?
probably.
Probably a fan.
More than
He probably plays Rocket League.
Yeah.
Freaking nerd.
I'm sure Epic would. I'm sure that's a lot of money. Fortnite's like
Right.
huge.
What happens if like Tesla really shits the bed? Do you think they're gonna take that car out? That'd be funny.
Uh, I'm sure that car will be gone within a few months.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Car licenses are weird, but also
Right.
Elon Musk is very weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
That was my
that
other
was
thing.
another
I was
thing.
like,
Recently, they just took down Forza Horizon 4 because of car licenses.
yeah.
You can no longer digitally get Forza Horizon 4.
Which is why Rocket League was doing fictional vehicles,
Cars, right? And then they started
With-
adding like Lamborghini and stuff like
with
that.
a different type of license. I can't remember the name.
Right. They were doing. I mean, a lot of it was like cars from like TV and stuff like
Stuff that maybe don't even have a license
Right.
anymore,
And-
or
or
whatever
they were
whatever it's called is expired. Their IP, right?
Right.
What is it?
that.
When like a cartoon is
Yeah, an
on the
IP.
market. Yeah, an IP. Well, I think it kind of fell under that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff of like Knight Rider and
But
like, all that stuff.
not the Elon Musk car.
Right.
Uh,
But they did end up adding like Hummers in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Eventually,
yeah,
they did
there's a couple. There's a handful that they
but you
did that whole
can't buy
racing.
those anymore.
They did a whole racing series and stuff. I think
Yeah.
you can still do those, but yeah, no, there's some limited ones. I think they did like the original like Halo Warthog or
Yes.
something at one time.
Yeah, you can the Warthog, Kip from Knight Rider, fucking
The Batman.
the DeLorean. Yeah, all the Batmobiles are in there.
Yeah.
What's the other one? The Fortnite vans in there. The
I have the Twisted Metal
the Sweet Tooth truck.
clown.
Is Fox McCloud's car in there, or is it like a ship looking one?
I don't think so.
Thought so.
Maybe.
But like with Nintendo and stuff like that, that was like a whole thing of like Nintendo stuff only exists on Nintendo versus like everybody else is willing to pay ball. So like Nintendo, I don't think they're ever gonna do something with Nintendo specific stuff again because of that.
Right.
Or like Nintendo wants to put Samus in Fortnite, but they don't want to put Samus in Fortnite for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I mean they've done it where like you can only buy it on that, but Nintendo wants it so you don't even see Samus on PlayStation, and they're like, well, we
Right.
can't do that.
Yeah, you can't exist unless you're on a Nintendo universe.
Right. So that's a very strange. Actually, there was a bunch of collabs this week though, because of Comic-Con and then Evo as well. They announced a bunch of fighting game stuff. The big one out of Evo collab wise is that Nike shoes are coming to Tekken, and they showed all the
nice.
Tekken characters rocking new
Oh my
Nike
gosh.
shoes.
That's crazy.
But along with that, they announced some DLC characters, and Heihachi, the big bad of the original Tekken games, is back from the
Oh,
dead.
nice. Oh, wow.
At the end of Tekken 7.
A zombie.
Yeah, I don't. He might be a robot. A lot of
Mm.
Tekken. There's a lot of robots in Tekken.
Yeah, they're like a good robot.
Yeah, Jax is the robot clone as
Yeah.
of right now. But Heihachi at the end of 7 got thrown into the volcano and died. And Harada was like, no, he's like super dead, and now he might super not be dead.
Yeah.
But the
It was a fake volcano. It was just food coloring.
And then we had that with Robert Downey Jr. as well, with the Avengers Endgame. The RDJ dies as Iron Man at the end of Endgame. It's a movie related one, but they just announced that RDJ will be playing Doom.
Oh, right, yeah, I saw that. That's weird.
Which...
There's billions of... Not billions. There's thousands, maybe, other actors.
Yeah. There's
so many other people.
A lot of people are... Yeah, 100%. There is a more reason why, though. Because it's all multiverse shit, so, like, that isn't Tony Stark. That is Victor Vaughn, but it's just, like, a look-alike kind of thing, where, like, the whole idea is that they're gonna be facing him kind of battling with that.
Yeah.
But that is a storyline in the comics. It's not Iron Man specifically, but it's, like, he's somebody else. But Doom is a crazy villain.
Interesting. I mean, that'd be cool if they tied in the likeness to it. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And if that's like a plan, kudos to them.
100%. It won't be Tony Stark.
But at the same time, there's so many people that could be.
Right.
And it's weird when they like recycle people, because it's like, why do you even give anyone the headache? Like,
well, so
I don't want to remember all these different people that look the same. Like, I still struggle not to see Harry Potter when I see Danny Radcliffe, and it's been years. So.
Right. Well, I mean, RDJ is Iron Man, and he is he is essentially the father of the whole, the whole franchise.
Right.
Like,
yeah, he was one of the first hero movies that kind of sparked it.
Right.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to be the big bad, it should be him. But also, like, that wasn't their initial plan, because, like, they have that Kane guy or whatever,
right.
And that dude got in that huge domestic violence lawsuit,
right.
And they were like, oh, shit, we gotta go. So this was a huge pivot, and good on them, because, like, Secret Wars and all of that stuff that's coming is some crazy-ass multiverse shit.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of Secret Wars specific stuff is, like, different universes dying out and stuff like that to ultimately clash into one. So, like, you're gonna have, like... I mean, I haven't seen Deadpool yet, but the whole pitch of Deadpool is that it's the start of that, where, like...
Right.
You have the Fox universe and the old Sony universe and the modern MCU all, like, colliding into each other.
Yeah.
But now we're finally going to have, like, all of the number Earth. Like, in Marvel, there's, like, several thousand different Earths. And each one is, like, has its own Iron Man and its own, Doom and its own. So theoretically, that might not be the only Doom that we see, too.
That's true, yeah.
They were just like, this might be the red herring of, like, he's back as Doom, but he might not be the real Doom.
He could literally just be a Doom.
Right, in some universe. Because we also have Galactus coming in, and then we have, the Watcher and shit. Like, it's gonna get super cosmic. And, like, a lot of that stuff I'm interested in. All of the TV show shit, I could give a fuck less. But the fact that we're getting back into that side of it, I'm excited for that stuff. Because, like, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness or whatever, and it's getting poor reviews. I I don't give a shit about. But Secret Wars, dude, Secret Wars is cool ass shit.
Yeah.
That was a comic line that I was super into when it came out. I don't know, the original Secret Wars run in the 80s, it's fine, but the newest version of Secret Wars from like 2015 is like 15 issues long.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
So good. Same thing with Endgame. Endgame was fantastic. And that's like a lot of the stuff that was bad in the MCU is all the shit that they were trying to do that's outside of the comics. Like they were just like creating their own story willy-nilly. And it's like, no.
It's like, yeah, just stick to what's been written. That's
right.
what everyone wants.
You can extrapolate from what's been written, but
right.
like there's a cadence to these things that we're expecting. You can we're all for like, you know, like
a fresh take.
Yeah, and remixing some characters around. Like it doesn't have to be like Iron Man who kills Thanos or whoever. Like it could be fucking Spider-Man. It could be the Punisher. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But the fact that you told that story is what's cool. And I mean, Thanos doesn't die at the end. That's kind of like the whole fucking point. But the a lot of Galactus and stuff like that is gonna be cool. That's gonna be cool shit, and we're supposed to see him soon. They're gonna be doing a couple of other really bad movies, like Thunderbolts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Captain America 4 is coming, and they just showed a trailer for that pretty recently. That's next year. And then a lot of those other movies are all like next year and the year after that. Like Deadpool and Wolverine's the only Marvel thing this year besides the TV shows that are coming out. I think there's like one or two of those. From what I've heard, those aren't that good.
Right.
But who knows? Who knows? There's one that's like Agatha Goes All the Way, I think is what it's called. I forgot what the other one is. And then there's a Spider-Man movie coming. And that's Sony, so that's not in the Marvel MCU slate, so that could just come randomly.
Yeah.
They're also doing like another Venom movie and whatever, so like whatever with that. But I don't care about any of that stuff.
No.
Actually, Spider-Man movies I kind of fell off of after the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this isn't video games,
I mean, I liked
Comic-Con.
I liked the multiverse one where it was all the all three of them.
I just didn't see it. Far From Home, right?
Whatever one where it was, whatever one where it was all three of them and they all met up or whatever. That one was cool.
Yeah, I meant to see that one. I haven't. Yeah, I heard it was good. The Spider-Man ones are good, and that's what. It was a bummer that the Doctor Strange one was bad because that was supposed to be like the horror movie thing, and there was like another X-Men related. Was it New Mutants? Or I think it might have been New Mutants. But it was supposed to be like a hardcore horror movie, and then they like scrapped it like several times, and it ended up being really bad. There is an MCU movie that people are like, oh, Deadpool and Wolverine's the first rated R MCU movie. There's one more beforehand I haven't seen yet either. It's the werewolf movie. It's like, is it Werewolf in London? It might be Werewolf in London. Or American Werewolf. One of those two. But it's a Disney Plus exclusive movie. And it's a black and white, old school monster horror film that was apparently really good.
Oh, interesting.
I just never watched it because I just started getting back into streaming services for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
Where like I had an urge to watch all of Rocket Power. So I binge watched all of the first season of Rocket Power.
Yeah.
And then I threw on like some SpongeBob and stuff, and I was like, oh well, I guess all of Disney is also linked into Amazon too, so I'll look through that. And I completely forgotten that there was like all of this other Marvel stuff that isn't bad.
Yeah, right.
You know? There's been just so much shit out there. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, man. We're gonna have a bunch of video games coming out that are all Marvel related too. Like, the Marvel fatigue is gonna be... I don't think it's gonna come back as heavy, but, like, this ain't nothing yet.
Oh yeah, it's definitely gonna make its way back like a storm. We're gonna be like superheroes again.
Secret Wars is about to open the floodgates with the movies, and then we have all of these video game deals are finally going. Like, the next 10 plus years of Insomniac, yeah, dude, are all Spider-Man games, and then Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's not a Ratchet and Clank in sight,
Right.
and then we have like Iron Man from EA. We have 2 Captain America games coming. It's like, what the fuck?
We should have that old school Captain America.
Yeah, that's one of the 2.
One of the 2, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
So that was another news story from this week where apparently they just didn't have a publisher for that game this whole time. Which Skydance has a lot of money because their production wheelhouse is outside of games mostly.
Yeah.
And their video game production is very small scale. This being the first big game from them. I mean, they've had bigger games, but this is like a big deal game. It just hasn't had a publisher this whole time,
Right.
apparently. So now that the game's almost done, that they're finally like pitching it to, like EA and stuff like that.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't know what the fuck you thought.
Why weren't you doing that the whole time?
Right. Why wasn't this the first thing?
How did you even get an ad for it and stuff?
They have money to produce games, but like, can't. At this point, why not publish it yourself?
Right, exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, Disney won't publish it. Disney got out of video game publishing a long time ago. That's why they just license out everything now.
Yeah.
Because they were super into publishing their own stuff back in, like, the 360 days with, like, Disney Infinity and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, probably Disney Infinity is what kind of killed all of that with the Toys to Life whole downfall.
Right.
But the shit, dude, like, that Disney check came, like,
yeah.
You got money.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so crazy.
It's so funny, man. We gotta do a deep dive at, like, Amy Hennig, because it seems like everything she touches is just cursed, and it's not like she's bad at storytelling. She's an amazing storyteller. She worked on the original Uncharted games and like Soul Reaver back in the day, the Legacy of Kain series. She's like heavily like involved with. But her last handful of games, every single time they're anywhere close to being done, they get canceled. It's like Star Wars 1313 was the start of it. Or she left Uncharted 3 in the middle of it.
Oh, really?
And like over creative differences with Sony, and then started up a new studio, pitched Star Wars 1313, which was like this outlaw third-person shooter Star Wars game.
Yeah.
It was Uncharted but Star Wars. That got canceled. Then I believe she had a game with Stadia? I know I get her confused with Jade Raymond sometimes, but I think that's the case with both of them, where both of them had games with Stadia, and they both got canceled. Jade Raymond's another person who has had some pretty bad luck with games recently, but and then after she left Stadia, she went to go do another EA Star Wars game that also got canceled.
Wow.
That Respawn third-person shooter that was supposed to be made. It was supposed to be like Rogue Troopers or whatever, like a spiritual successor to that.
Yeah.
And that got fucking axed too.
That's weird.
Yeah, but she's working on this 1940s Captain America, Black Panther.
So we'll never see it, basically.
Who knows at this point, man? And
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it was already a weird concept from the get-go, I feel, personally. But, yeah.
yeah, I don't. I
The fact that it's taken this long, who's asking for it still? I think I only remembered it because you brought it up.
well, that it really wasn't that long ago. It just feels like forever ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I feel like it's been a while, but maybe not.
It was last year.
That's still, I mean, I guess that's not that long in the game world, but
Yeah, I mean, it's been in
Still.
development for a while. I think what you're thinking of, there was definitely rumors a long time ago, and then
Yeah.
EA announced their Black Panther game forever ago,
mm,
which is totally different from
okay.
this Black Panther and Captain America
that
game,
may be what I'm thinking of.
which
too.
is also different from the Captain America game that's being made.
Right. Why do we need any of these games? I mean, I guess, like, I don't know. I've never been. It's just so much more fun. I mean, I guess it's cool to, like, be like these heroes, but I don't know.
And it's crazy because all of these
Spider-Man's
games,
the only one I've ever really liked. And the Hulk one from, like, the 360 where you could play
Right.
golf. But other than
all
that-
all of those games cost so much less than these games. will.
Right.
Like, all of these games are, like, hundreds of millions of dollars. Theoretically, I would imagine. We also got, like, Blade coming and, like, all of, like...
Yeah.
These games are so expensive, but, like, back in the day, we used to get so much.
Mm-hmm.
So much licensed shit. So much superhero stuff. So much Star
Yeah.
Wars stuff. And, like, there was a huge period in time where we just didn't get that. And, like, now we're finally getting it at a scale that's, like, unimaginable. And it's because of, like, Batman Arkham Asylum and stuff like that. But it's, like, I don't know. It's, like, we used to get a lot of these and then we didn't get them at all.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're finally getting a handful of them, and it just feels like there's so much because of all coming at once.
Yeah.
But if you look back in the day, it was like, I mean, it was half the games coming out were licensed games, and it was
Right.
Batman, Spider-Man, Hulk, and you know,
That's
it
true,
was
yeah.
just there just wasn't a movie and a
It's
TV
gonna
show and all of
fluctuate.
that.
Yeah,
stuff.
well, that's what it is.
Comics were
There's so many different
yeah,
mediums at once instead of just like the 2 or 3.
comics were so much bigger at that point.
Right. Yeah.
I
People were reading.
I was reading so much comics at that point. Yeah,
Sorry.
and
That's a big one.
I mean, I remember when Batman Begins for the GameCube came out based off the movie,
Yeah.
and it was like it would be so cool if there was a Batman game that wasn't based off a movie, but it was just like this.
Mm.
And they did it with Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, it would be so cool if they would do this with like the Punisher. I mean, they kind of did it with the Punisher way back in the day, but like, or Spider-Man, or like, you know, there's so many of other characters, and then they started doing it, and now they're finally at a point where like these games are coming out at a steady rate.
Mm.
It's like fumble after fumble with the most recent ones because they're all based off live service shit.
Right.
But the ones that are single player have all been decent.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
that Guardians of the Galaxy game didn't sell as well as the other ones, but like people adore that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There were. I remember when that game came out. I mean, it's not talked about as much, but when it came out, I remember there were a lot of.
You're right.
You know,
But at the same time,
cutscenes
Marvel
and shit.
Avengers came out, and that game got shat on. That
Really?
game is terrible. It's so bad, man.
Damn.
And then in the same breath and spirit, Batman Arkham Asylum is a beautiful masterpiece of a game,
Mm-hmm.
a superhero or not. But that team would go on to make Suicide Squad, and that's just a terrible fucking game.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's amazingly written, it looks great, but gameplay wise, it's like, what the fuck?
Right.
Same thing with the Avengers, but I don't know.
Sometimes it's hard to turn a story into something playable.
Right, and they talked about how much Suicide Squad lost in revenue. It was like they are subjected to lose like $200 million
Mm-hmm.
just off the launch of that game
Wow.
specifically, and they still have like they're rolling out another season worth of DLC content. So they're still pumping money into it.
Right. They're still maybe hoping, like, oh, maybe they'll come around.
Yeah. And we're going to see that again with, like, it's not going to be a license thing, but with Concord, with Sony's thing, where it's $40 at launch or whatever. All of the expansions and shit are free, but, like, it's not going to sell enough to keep it going, but they're going to try to keep it going for a bit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The Suicide Squad thing's funny because they were like, but what about if the Suicide Squad, or what about if the Justice League that you killed were actually all clones? What about if you didn't kill the Justice League? Now you gotta save the Justice League.
Yeah.
Because they're all under Brainiac's mind control, which is the reason why you killed them.
Trapped in a somewhere else vessel or something, right? Yeah.
But if that's the case, fucking Wonder Woman is just dead in that game. They fucking just murk Wonder Woman in that game. I forgot who. I think it's the Flash that kills her.
Really?
Yeah, during that fight with her and the Flash, but yeah, Wonder Woman's dead.
There's not a clone of her.
No, because she never got caught by Brainiac.
Oh right.
So like the only one of the Justice League that you find has their mind intact is her. I mean, they might have a clone of her, but it's not gonna.
That would be a weird twist, because why would she have been good if she was a clone?
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have her bad version. No, because that wouldn't work either. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think they're planning that far ahead, man. Yeah. I think they're just like, we gotta figure.
We'll see. It would be interesting if they write it in somehow, though.
Yeah, because they were gonna do like their version of the multiverse shit, where it was like, they call it the Other Worlds.
Right.
Like they have Other Worlds Joker in there now, and like a bunch of the Other Worlds outfits were like. Because toy makers in the game, they have like all the toy maker outfits now.
That's kind of what the Multiversus is about too. They're in the multi,
Right.
It's in the name, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But they do the portals through the different
Multiverse of Madness. I'm so excited for Secret Wars to kill all of that shit because that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
It's all about everybody dying and there being one. It's so fucking crazy, dude.
Nice.
And then in context is there's the modern version. There's like the Marvel current storyline. There's the Marvel Knight storylines. There's the Marvel Ultimate series. And then like with Spider-Man, there's also Spectacular Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man. And like all of those are Peter Parker, but they're all different Peter Parkers. They're all their own canons. And same thing with like the Civil War timeline as its own version of a timeline and stuff like that. So now you finally get, they're all gonna fucking fight it out, and it's all gonna get mixed up and jumbled, and nobody's gonna end up in the right spot, and it's kind of gonna be crazy if they do it right.
Right.
And if they plan it out right, which I mean they did it right before. Can they do it again?
So far, it's been pretty decent.
They have a lot less time this time. Secret Wars is slated to be 2027.
Yeah.
As of right now.
But if they've been planning this for a while, they probably are a few movies ahead.
Yeah. The Secret Wars part of it seems like they've been planning it for a while. The whole Doctor Doom already... I mean, that could have always been in the case, but it to be so present now, it's definitely didn't seem like that was going to be the plan at all.
Right, yeah.
I forgot... There was something with the logos and, like, the colors and stuff like that of the logos that are supposed to be, like, reminiscent of something. I forgot what it was. But, yeah, I'm excited for the Marvel stuff. I still haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine because it got, like, super bad reviews from reviewers. And then, like, people who are actually fans of, like, the Wolverine stuff, they said, like, some of the jokes kind of don't land, but... people said they had fun with it.
Right. So, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's a Deadpool movie. It's not supposed to be taken as...
Right.
I mean, nothing should be taken seriously about superhero movies, but it's supposed to be a light-hearted, like... The director... I saw an interview. The director even said it's more or less a buddy cop comedy, basically.
Right.
Like more, it's it's a couple of goofy guys just
Right.
having fun,
But
being meta and shit.
the implications of it are so much deeper than what it is. Like,
Right.
even if they think they just made, like, a buddy cop movie, the implications of, like...
Well, I think that's, like, kind of like the meta joke of,
Right.
of it all.
Yeah.
It's like it appears like a lighthearted thing because it's Deadpool, but because it's Deadpool, there is a lot more depth. Because usually Deadpool stuff is a little deeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, I do appreciate that about that, where he's just like, the whole idea of Deadpool over these 3 movies is like him trying to have a legacy more than just being like some random mercenary. He's trying to have his hero moment kind of thing. But the Deadpool humor, man, is so rough. So fucking rough, dude. And it was fine when I was like 14 to 19 when the movie finally came out, to like when I first saw, like, do you remember the leak when the Deadpool CGI like Fox leak happened? It was like 3 minutes of footage of the highway scene, and it was all CG. It was well before, like...
Oh, like the slow motion thing?
Yeah.
Probably,
it was just like 3 minutes of just straight him just shooting everybody, making jokes and stuff like that. And it was like Ryan Reynolds, I guess, leaked it.
Yeah.
But that was like back in like 2008 or whatever. And then it was like many years later, it finally got greenlit. And then they made a PS4 game. And that game's fine. It's whatever. Then they finally came out with the movie, and by the time the movie came out, it was like, okay, it's fine, it's good. Like, the action's really good, but these jokes are kind of whatever. The second movie came out, and I was just like, I'm not even gonna bother with it. But now that the third movie's coming out, and then it has fucking my boy in it, and Logan.
Yeah.
Dude, like, I gotta see it. But, like, that's another example of, like, they ended that story so well.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, for him to even be back is crazy.
Right.
Like,
but it also ties into the whole multiverse thing. So,
right.
like, this is a whole completely different Wolverine, really.
From what we know, it's not. It is the same Wolverine.
Really?
Yeah. And they're bringing all of that into all of the later... Like, all of those X-Men dudes from, like, Days of Future Past and stuff are confirmed for, like, later movies and stuff as their characters. So, like, all of that will be tied in. That Logan is Logan. It's just that Logan is a different point in time Logan. Which doesn't make any sense, because it's like, well, so if you rip that Logan out of time, that means just that part of that chapter just never happens, period. Because now it's the butterfly effect. Once you fuck with time, you just take it back.
Well, what are they saying that Deadpool went back in time, or not maybe back in time, but this is at a time where Deadpool appears at a younger version of Logan, and fucks with him, and then just drops him back off, and then his story continues.
Yeah, and from what I understand about...
Because that's like a Narnia type thing.
Deadpool, because Deadpool lives kind of outside of all of this.
Right. Yeah, he's between the frames.
Right, and a lot of Deadpool's universe is not... It's not just because Deadpool's like that. It's because his world is actually in between worlds. Mm-hmm. So, from what I understand, I don't know the extent of cameos and stuff like that, but a lot of the cameos are so meta that it's supposed to be the actor playing the character playing the actor playing the character. Does that make sense? Like, like Colin Farrell as Bullseye from Daredevil in 2004 isn't Bullseye as in 2004. It's Colin Farrell playing his Bullseye character as Colin Farrell playing the Bullseye character.
Nope, you lost me, but I'll watch it.
Yeah.
we're probably gonna go see it this week.
That's not to confirm that Bullseye's in it.
Right.
There was like a still, because I watched all the trailer breakdowns and shit, because I'm a nerd for all of that. There was like a still image of like a whole bunch of characters and stuff, and people before the movie came out was like, "Is that Bullseye?" That was the one character that stuck out in my head of like.
That'd be cool. Though.
Colin Farrell's just in a bald cap,
right?
Fucking flinging whatever the fucking safety pins or
yeah,
whatever.
Everything. He literally just throws all this shit.
It's funny as hell. But that yeah, I want to see that movie. I plan on seeing it soon. But yeah. Oh, that.
I've never seen that before.
That was the fucking.
It looks like
the memory
screen
card
is blinking too.
Yeah, the memory card just went out.
Oh.
There's probably 4 more minutes. Well, it says there's 4 more minutes, so...
Okay. That's like the low fuel alarm.
Yeah, it's saying that it's out of memory, but there's enough for it to keep going, so we can close it out now. I didn't realize that...
That's the time then, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's 143 minutes, I think that's what
it's like 2.5 hours almost.
Yeah. I mean, that's fitting for how long it's been.
It's a podcast.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week. It will be on the correct day, ideally. I know we said that last time. I say that every time, and it seems like it curses it. So,
yeah, I mean, at this point, just expect it eventually.
Yeah.
All right? We have lives, and you're not... No one's putting money in our pockets.
We're not going to not record it.
We're
just going to do it eventually.
We'll get to it at our most... inconvenient time.
Right. Hell yeah. It's been fun, guys. It's been real. Peace out, Cub Scouts. Bye. Yeah, the low fuel alarm.